the City of Pacifica. It is October 13th, 2025. We're starting at 6:26 p.m. You see there are four council members here. I want to note that our council member Greg Wright is joining us, participating in this meeting through teleconference. And the location, do I need to state the location for the record, City Clerk? And
I can do that during roll call, Mayor.
Okay, very good. That'll be great. Thank you very much. And let's go ahead with roll call.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Here.
Councilmember Beer.
Here.
Vice Mayor Bowles.
Here.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
Present.
And Councilmember Wright will be joining us remotely via Zoom from the agenda location as posted in the written agenda.
Present.
Councilmember Wright will be taking votes this evening by roll call vote since you're participating remotely. Councilmember Wright, can you hear me well?
Yes, I can. Thank you very much, Sarah. Can you hear me?
Yes. Were you able to hear the proceeding well up until now?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Do you have a copy of the agenda for this meeting?
I do.
And has the agenda been posted at the location where you're at?
Yes, it has.
Okay. Is the location where you are reasonably accessible to the public such that any member of the public could participate in the teleconference from your location if they wish to do so?
Yes, ma'am, they can.
Okay. And is there any member of the public there with you now who would like to participate in the public comment portion of this meeting or otherwise address any agenda item for this meeting?
No, ma'am, there is not. I'm in a big empty room.
Okay. Mayor Beckmeyer will check in with you periodically, and we'll watch for your raised hand on Zoom for when you wish to comment.
Thank you.
And please, if that doesn't happen fast enough, feel free to speak up. Thank you, Councilmember Wright. All right. The council met in closed session. And do we have a closed session report, City Attorney?
Yes, Mayor. The council voted unanimously in closed session to join with the county, who has initiated a lawsuit against the state for the collection of vehicle license fees. And the City of Pacifica will be joining in that lawsuit.
Thank you. All right. Who's doing the pledge?
Mayor, you'll be leading the pledge tonight.
I'm sorry?
You'll be leading the
Oh,
Pledge
I'm
of
doing it.
Allegiance tonight.
I'd like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Land acknowledgement.
Oh, we'll do the land acknowledgement first, and then we'll read.
It is Indigenous Peoples' Day.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you. The City of Pacifica acknowledges that we occupy the unceded ancestral homeland of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples, who are the original inhabitants of the San Francisco Peninsula. We honor the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples for their enduring commitments to Mother Earth. As the indigenous protectors of this land, and in accordance with their traditions, the Ramaytush Ohlone have never ceded, lost, nor forgotten their responsibilities as the caretakers of this place, as well as for all peoples who reside in their traditional territory. We affirm their sovereign rights as First Peoples and wish to pay our respects to the ancestors, elders, and relatives of the Ramaytush Ohlone peoples. And now I will lead us in a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have a special presentation this evening, United Against Hate Week, October 19th to 25th. Proclamation of the City of Pacifica in recognition of Pacifica United Against Hate Week, October 19 to October 25, 2025. Whereas The City of Pacifica is a community that respects diversity and affirms our commitment to safety and belonging for all residents. And whereas hate presents a threat to communities everywhere and creates an atmosphere of fear and division, and whereas reported hate crimes have increased dramatically across the United States, and whereas the City of Pacifica is dedicated to preventing and opposing hate and intolerance in our community, and whereas education, compassion, critical thinking, and cooperation are key to unlocking understanding and embracing differences between people, and whereas we join other communities across the country in observing United Against Hate Week as an important step in bridging divisions while strengthening and healing our communities. Now, therefore, I, Sue Beckmeyer, on behalf of the City Council of the City of Pacifica and all its citizens, do hereby proclaim October 19th through October 25th, 2025, as Pacifica United Against Hate Week 2025, and declare the enthusiastic support of United Against Hate Week in solidarity with the We Stand United Against Hate movement, done this 13th day of October 2025. We do not have anyone here tonight to receive this proclamation, but I would invite council members, if anyone has any comments or anything they want to add, this would be a great time for it. And I think we have public comment as well.
Oh, great.
Shall we do public comment? I have Suzanne Moore.
One moment. Good evening, honorable council members, city staff, and my neighbors. Suzanne Moore from the Manor District. I appreciate the opportunity that this annual proclamation gives me for a bit of self-analysis, because I believe hate is insidious and sneaky and can creep into my life or anyone's life unaware. I believe at this moment in time, and with the divisiveness which seems prevalent, it requires all of us to ask ourselves what part I might play to encourage listening, find commonality in values, and invite others to join in discourse that moves us forward in true solution building. I myself am continuously learning how best to share my thoughts, and I invite all of us to stay open and consider our words, because words truly have power, and our neighbors are listening. Words that denigrate, words that create fear without consideration of consequences, words that repeat misinformation, even unintentionally, are, I believe, part of the problem and are a barrier to solution building. Our community is facing many critical issues: environmental protection, homelessness and housing crisis, funding and financial instability. Hopelessness in the face of these issues, which far exceed our community's ability to resolve alone, that hopelessness can immobilize us. I do consider the opportunity to speak at this podium a true privilege, and I do give thought to what I'm sharing, or I ask my husband, he's a good person who critiques. I ask all of us to listen, invite, educate ourselves, engage in our community in what ways we can, and empower others to do the same. Pacifica stands united. Those are just really wonderful words. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't have any lights. Council members, anyone? Oh, anyone on the phone? Hold on, Greg, 1 second. Assistant City Clerk, do you have anyone on the phone for comment?
There are no raised hands.
Okay, thank you. Then close public comment. Greg, please, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to say that I have the opportunity to have a unique perspective this evening, being able to watch it over Zoom. And right beneath you, Mayor, it says Pacifica stands against hate. And that's something super important. Those are important words. It's good that we model that we state that we send it out over the airwaves on TV. And I so appreciate that we do this on an annual basis. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Did you have something?
Go.
Please go ahead.
Sure. We've just come from a conference at the state level, and some of the meetings we've had are really about the hate that's spreading in our communities and distrust and alienating certain communities, especially those of color. That is really being led by the national politics and, a president who makes it okay for people to do those things. And it's important for us to say it's not okay, that's not who we are. We value each member of our community here and will stand with you against any hate you might experience. And please know that we're here, our emails and numbers are on the city website, and if you're experiencing those things, I'm sure either one of the five of us would be happy to stand with you. I found a quote from Maya Angelou that I wanted to read, and it's very simple. Hate has caused a lot of problems in this world, but it has not solved one yet. So let's make better choices. Let's really, like as Suzanne said, examine ourselves. We all make decisions every day, and could something be a little better? I think it could. Thank you.
I'll go ahead too.
Please.
And just for everyone's understanding, it is a statewide campaign, and so there's a lot of things going on all over the state in different cities, and it is definitely the first activity that we do every year with our youth council at Oceana, and so it's really so nice to see what the young people come up with and how they feel about things, and they are the most important voices that we have. So we've been doing it for I don't know how many years now, 5, 6 years or something. And so I have a collection of really cool posters and things in our classroom. So thanks.
Beautiful. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I will bring us to our consent calendar. And I would like to know if any council members wish to pull any items from consent.
I'd like to pull item 4 so we can get a brief presentation about the fireworks.
Okay, item 4. All right. And I'll open public comment on consent items. If anyone wishes to speak on any items on the consent agenda,
Except item 4.
except item 4, because that will be addressed in its own item after the regular consent agenda, please let me know. I don't see any, and and the cards that I've received are not specific to the consent items. I see someone is stepping forward. Is it on the consent agenda or for another item? Okay. Assistant City Clerk? No. So there aren't any public comments on the consent calendar, so I'll bring it back to the council for a motion and...
Oh, just 1 second. If you're planning to do a motion, I'm sorry, I had a couple of corrections to the minutes too. If you
Oh,
don't
of
mind.
course. Please.
Yeah, so just a few typos. I think there were some words that, as we were doing our REACH codes, that maybe weren't quite clear. Sarah, so on page 28, 1, 2, 3, fourth paragraph from the bottom, that starts Vice Mayor Bowles, and then it says required all electric renewed construction, and that just should be new construction. Let me know if you found that. 28.
It's right here, the end of the sentence.
Oh, at the end of the sentence. Oh, got it. Okay, thank you.
Did you find that, Sarah, or you need a little more?
Stated that
Clarity.
this,
It's the, is it the statement, Vice Mayor Bowles stated that the council passed REACH codes that required all electric renewed should be
Yeah,
new.
it should be, or for new construction, yeah.
for new. Okay.
And then there were 3 references, the bottom of page 31 and towards the top of page 32, where we talked about the flex path, and it was noted as flex pass instead. So it, it starts with Community Development Director Updegrave. And I just think it's important because that is a particular ordinance that Peninsula Clean Energy has, so just wanted to get the words correct. So it's Community Development Director Updegrave, and then on that same page, Vice Mayor Bowles stated. And then on the 3rd page, also the paragraph that starts Vice Mayor Bowles says, so three places that says pass instead of path. And then, sorry, one more. And then the bottom of page 33, paragraph that also says Vice Mayor Bowles referred to, and it says portable water, and it says it portable and twice in that paragraph, and it should be potable water. And that's all.
Okay.
All right, I move we accept the consent agenda with Councilmember Bowles' corrections and minus item 4.
I'll second.
Okay, let's start the roll call vote, starting with Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Aye.
Councilmember Beer.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bowles.
Yes.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes.
And the consent calendar with item number 2 as amended, minus item number 4, passes unanimously.
Okay, so now we will come back to item 4. And you were asking for a presentation, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I just thought it would be helpful for the community to hear from our police department briefly about the fireworks issues on the 4th of July. Hi,
Yeah, thank you,
Glasgow.
Vice Mayor Bowles. We have a brief presentation summarizing the report that Captain Glasgow can walk us through, and then we're happy to answer any questions about the program.
Great. Good evening, Councilmember Beckmeyer, Vice Mayor Bowles, fellow council members, staff, Captain Bill Glasgow with your police department. I'm happy to present today the 2025 4th of July summary of our events on July 4th. The Pacifica Police Department launched an aggressive messaging campaign mid-June ahead of the July 4th holiday. The campaign was designed to raise public awareness to deter illegal fireworks activity. We utilized our social media platforms, including Connect with Pacifica, to inform the community that possession and/or use of illegal fireworks can result in fines up to $1,000. The Pacifica Police Department experienced a high volume of activity on July 4th, consistent with years past. However, overall calls for service decreased by 5% in 2024, with fireworks-related calls down just 24% over the full reporting period. During peak hours, which we have listed as 7 p.m. On July 4th to 2 a.m. on July 5th, fireworks-related calls dropped 13%, and the total service calls declined slightly by 1.5%. This period remains the busiest for the police department, marked by increased staffing and focused fireworks enforcement. These reductions reflect improvement public safety, greater community compliance, and the effectiveness of proactive outreach and enforcement efforts. Continued use of targeted deployment, drone activity, and community engagement will support future progress. In addition to fireworks-related incidences, officers responded to emergencies, including 911 calls, welfare checks, traffic collisions, domestic disturbances, Arrests included a DUI, a drug offense, and a restraining order violation. Several fireworks-related trash fires were reported and extinguished without injuries or any damage to city property. Officers had issued 14 administrative citations for illegal fireworks and 1 citation under our city's social host ordinance in 2025, carrying a $1,000 fine. This is up from 10 citations in 2024. All but 1 cited individual were adults, 5 were Pacifica residents. Staffing and operational support, public safety on July 4th, Pacifica Police Department had 27 Pacifica officers deployed, along with 4 professional staff, 1 dispatcher from South San Francisco. Staffing was lower than in previous years due to vacancies and extended leave, but was supplemented by 3 of our reserve officers and 5 officers from neighboring jurisdictions. In October of 2024, the department was approved to purchase unmanned aerial systems, drones. Due to import restrictions, drones were sourced from Skydio, a U.S. military manufacturer. Delivery is expected in early 2026, with plans to use this technology to enhance our operations and safety operations moving forward. Staffing and operation support continued. With all of this, this is also with our North County Fire. We partnered with our North County Fire. They also conducted proactive community outreach. They've increased their staffings with their department, 2 additional fire companies, and they also responded to various miscellaneous firework-related fires. Parks, Beach, and Recreation once again stepped up and had a wonderful event with the annual Rocket Run, followed by a Family Fun Day event at Frontierland Park. Very successful, and it was very well attended by our community. July 4th expenditures and/or revenues included personnel and overtime cost for the Pacifica Police Department, North County Fire Authority, and Public Works. Police Department costs were lower this year due to the reduced staffing and fewer personnel from allied agencies. Public Works spending also was a slight decrease, while North County Fire costs actually increased compared to in 2024. Safe and Sane fireworks sales remain strong, generating $36,000 from the city's 7% safety fee. Also, if you recall last year when I reported out, due to AB 1403, that percentage was lowered from 8% down to 7%, which might have caused, which is a benefiting factor as to the reduced revenues that came in. And again, you'll see this graph also illustrates the reduced, the increased in expenditures for various amounts or various reasons. So this year, again, as in years past, there was 11 nonprofit groups receiving the permits this year to sell Safe and Sane fireworks. All attended a pre-sales orientation and passed fire inspection booth compliance inspections. No issues were reported during the sales. As part of the permit process, groups participated in mandatory beach cleanup efforts coordinated by the Pacifica Beach Coalition with support from Public Works. Each group completed at least 20 hours of cleanup across July and August, with a total of 401 hours volunteered. I'd also like to take this time to also recognize our Beach Coalition folks and our Public Works staff. That is a daunting task to take on, and I know it requires a lot of staff time. So I want to thank my colleagues in the various departments and Ann and her team with the Beach Coalition. Again, just phenomenal job in getting out there early morning with the groups and getting our beaches and our parking lots cleaned up. And that concludes our presentation. I'd be happy
Thank
to
you.
answer any questions.
Thank you so much, Captain Glasgow. And I just wanted to confirm, and I'm sorry if I missed it now, but so the staff report said our revenue was, from the sales of fireworks was $36,000, and the departmental expenditures, all the different departments, was $42,000. But I understand that didn't include the fines of, at 14, you said, at 1,000 each, so that's an extra 14,000, so we're not in the red, we're in the black, at least to cover our expenses
That's correct.
with that, okay. Could you just talk a little bit about calls? Like, I know in the past I have called, but I felt like I needed to know like an exact location, right, to be able to send police. Like, what are you looking for when a community member complains about illegal fireworks that they're seeing?
Well, typically our professional staff who work so hard answering those phone calls, because there's tons of them coming in,
Yeah,
they try to obtain as much information from the caller, the reporting party, trying to get a location, if they're willing to provide a name, to provide us so we can follow up. Typically, a lot of these calls are people who want to remain anonymous, unfortunately. So sometimes we're just going based on the location in which they provided our call taker with.
okay. And the number to call was through the website link for the most part? That's what I
Typically,
understand.
yes. Also, we encourage our folks, if it's something's dangerous going on, is don't hesitate and call 911 right away. You're going to get the quickest response.
Right, okay. And then if I could ask you to talk a little bit more, I'm excited about the drones that we're getting. And I know your ticketing is limited because you have to actually catch someone in the act. How do you see using the drone technologies, and could that help with that, like if it's happening in someone's backyard or so?
We believe it will. Our policy will dictate in which we choose to utilize our drones. Keep in mind, this is a public or a city asset, and we really want to be cautious on our efforts in deploying such expensive equipment. We're not going to randomly fly our drones over various areas, but if there's a specific public safety need in which we have the ability to use a drone as an extra tool in the toolbox, we will then make those decisions in determining the impact of how we're going to respond to that specific incident.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. That's all I had.
Other council members, other questions?
Not a question, but I'll have a comment after.
Okay. I would like to open, if there's nothing else coming forward from council right now, I'll open public comment on this item. Not seeing anyone step forward. Assistant City Clerk, do we have anyone on the phone?
There are no raised hands.
Okay, we'll then close public comment, bring it back. Councilmember Beer.
Thank you for taking the time to be with us tonight and for your report. At the conference, the TNT guys had a booth, obviously, right? And they were very well versed on our city, and how many people worked in the booths, and they also knew about the data, which I thought was interesting. So they must have read the agenda packet because they actually knew the data, and so they are definitely on top of their yeah. They definitely know Pacifica, that's for sure.
Okay. Well, thank you again for the report. It's really helpful to hear your firsthand and many years' experience with this, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Oh, I just had my page. Here I am. All right. So we have public comments on items not on the posted agenda.
Mayor, we'll need a motion to accept the report.
Oh, oops, you're right. So sorry. I need a motion for item 4.
I move that we accept the report and approve item 4 from the consent.
Second?
And with the motion made by Vice Mayor Bowles and seconded by Councilmember Espinosa, I'll start the roll call vote with Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Aye.
Councilmember Beer.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bowles.
Yes.
And Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes,
And item number 4 passes unanimously.
thank you. Okay, now the consent calendar. Persons wishing to address the council on any consent calendar item? Nope. Public comments on the items not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda is available for the public to address the city council on any issue that is not on the agenda. Any person wishing to address the council shall be recognized and address anything not on tonight's agenda. I do have a few cards. I'm going to ask that you please keep your comments to matters that are within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. And council members will not be entering into a debate with you, but please understand if we don't respond to questions that you ask, it's not because we aren't listening or not caring, it's because we're prevented from having a back and forth dialogue on items that are not on our agenda. So with that, I will let you know that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cards at this point. And the first 2 will be Michael Wallman and Suzanne Moore.
Hi, Mike Wallman, District 2. Good afternoon, all, or good evening, all. Great to see you again. Really appreciate all of your service. Thank you. I have a general comment that I believe is higher level than numbers 5 and 6 on the consideration agenda. So I'd just like to kind of expand on both of these beyond that bounds of what's said here. So the first says process for recruitment and selection, which implies not having the ability to elect somebody to be the executive of the city. That is the public. And then second, the potential options for amendment to mayor and vice mayor selection process also assumes there can't be the possibility of the public electing that office or expanding the number of board members. I would like to have the council consider these options as they consider items 5 and 6 later, since I think this all kind of is a bigger, higher level thing than that. I might also propose, since there's 2 open spots there, the idea that perhaps you could have 2 at-large members added in addition to the district seats. This might add a little bit more of a mix on not only district-level thoughts, but citywide thoughts. We do see that per the City of Pacifica's webpage, there was an adoption of an ordinance to change to a district-based system. So I would suspect that would mean that just like you could switch from all at-large to only district, you could also consider a hybrid version of that, where you retain your 5 district seats and add 2 more at-large seats. Thank you.
Thank you. Suzanne Moore, and then Steve Bianco. I'm sorry if I'm misstating the last name. Or Steve Franco, maybe? Okay, thank you. Okay, please go ahead, Suzanne.
Suzanne Moore from the Manor, honorable council members, city staff, and my neighbors. I want to share information from Faith in Action Bay Area. I'm not a member and do not claim to speak for that organization, but I...
Excuse me, Suzanne, it looks like Councilmember Wright is having a little hard time hearing
No.
you. Are you okay? Okay, I couldn't tell. All right, please, can you reset the clock, City Clerk? Sorry to interrupt.
No problem. Okay. So I don't...
Start again, complete,
Start again.
all fresh.
All righty. I want to share information from Faith in Action Bay Area. I'm not a member and do not claim to speak for that organization, but I do respect their work and want to pass this along to our community. Faith in Action Bay Area runs a 24/7 immigration hotline, and I appreciate that the city has shared posters, the yellow cards with public information, and the red cards which contain our constitutional rights. I'm grateful our libraries have these supplies available to the public. Faith in Action states that currently our county is experiencing 2 ICE arrests daily. The majority of those arrested are without criminal background and are often laborers. Faith in Action believes we're likely to see an increase in arrests in the future, and their team is asking that information on the hotline, our rights, and worker protection be made available now. The importance of the hotline is this. First, the intake crew can mobilize a team of trained colleagues to confirm what is happening. In the past, there have been some false alarms, and true confirmation can help to reduce public and community fear. Second, attorneys can be rapidly mobilized if there are arrests. Sadly, detainees can be transferred quickly to locations far from the arrest and reduce the chance for legal assistance. Third, the team can notify families of an arrest. Families sometimes have no idea why a loved one did not arrive at their workplace or come home as expected. The trained team member can share options and resources to the family. In a public workplace or agency, ICE cannot legally access a space marked private unless they have a judicial warrant. We soon hope to have free signs that we can be put up in the doors of employee break rooms or toilets. We also hope to have examples of a judicial warrant so we can recognize one if it's presented. There are volunteers going out to merchants in our community to provide these supplies, but again, I hope our libraries are going to have those items available during their business hours. If you're interested in becoming a volunteer or care to donate, please visit the Faith in Action Bay Area website. Thank you all for your efforts.
Thank you. Steve Franco and Joyce Toomey.
Good evening, City Council. This is a little bit kind of like on the RV issue. We still do see some of them going up our street, Paloma Avenue, by the high school, and we're hoping to get some kind of ordinance, because we know some of the cars that have gone up the street and they're looking for their friends to park an RV, but some kind of tent ordinance for no camping, because where they were parking, there's trees there, and they could possibly put some tents there. I've seen the tents over by the golf course, a couple of RVs parked there. Perhaps consider some kind of ordinance for no tent camping if they do put up signs. And I'd like to thank Chief Maria for really helping a lot with this issue and keeping everybody informed. I think she's done a hell of a good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Joyce Toomey, and then the last card I have is Jalissa Acosta.
Can I use up the rest of his time? No, I'm kidding.
No, I'm sorry, but you do get 3 minutes.
I'm kidding. Okay, I'm Joyce Toomey. Good evening, council women and man. I'm going to start off with the Councilman Wright. I was up at the school the other day, or a couple of weeks ago, and he was showing me how he mowed the lawn down in the lower field. And then I go, well, what about that one, that field over there? And he goes, oh, no, that's Pacifica Council field. And I thought, at first, because I knew Mary worked there, I got, oh, man, they named a field after Mary? That's pretty cool. But then they said, no, Greg Wright, he's a really cool guy. He's the one involved with this, so we can't touch that field. Well, what I'm getting at, Councilman, is we want off the map on the RV thing. I know it's a big thing with the lawsuit and everything, but the time we had those people for 2 months, which thank you, Chief, for getting that 1,000-foot ordinance in, because that does limit it. We, 3 of those really aggressive people, RVs, were right across that gravel parking lot where the parents usually park. And it was pretty bad, but the good part was it was the last 2 games of the soccer season, and school was closing down. So it didn't really affect anybody, and nobody really got involved in it because nobody was around to suffer like the people that live there. So what we really want, we don't want new signage saying nobody over 6 feet. We don't need any of that. We just want that little purple line taken off for East Paloma because it's along a school. Thousands and thousands of kids go to that school. Not just school Monday through Friday. I mean the swim meets, the soccer tournaments down below, as well as the little ones that you're involved with. And we just need to be off the map because now we have, after everything's said and done, now we have trollers coming through. And I personally see, they're not even from our city, they're not from our county, they're not even from our state. I've seen 2 from Texas and 1 from Kentucky in the last month, and they browse up and down the street. So it's just to get off that map so people from out of town don't come to our city just to hang out and live for free. That's all we want, is just off the map. And we'll be back to where we were, because the first 4 years we were on the map, nobody even tried to stay there because we're so busy. But now we can see at certain times of the year, people can't squeeze in. And those people we had, we do not want again. It was horrific. And I'm not saying all RVers are like that, but we gotta also remember that it is illegal to live on the streets. But we're so past that now, we need to at least protect our kids. Nobody on the school. Thank you.
Thank you. Julissa Acosta?
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council community. My name is Julissa Acosta, and I'm joined here today by Lysandra Goddard. We are both commissioners from the Commission of the Status of Women for San Mateo County, and we're here to invite you as a fellow neighbor from the District 3 to our Listen and Learn session that we'll be hosting in the Half Moon Bay Library on Tuesday, October 28th from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. It is open to the public. Dinner will be served. And Child Watch will be available. Our role as commissioners is to listen from the community on any issues related to women and girls in the county. And our focus over the last couple of years has been childcare and financial wellness. But we're also looking forward to any other feedback that the community can share with us. We hope that the community can join us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I have one additional card. Mr. Martin Anaya from the illustrious Pacific Coast Television. Mr. Anaya.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Council, and good evening, staff. Marty and I with PCT. I am so happy to follow these ladies right here because the thing that literally prompted me to come down here tonight to talk to you, I wanted to talk about the Fog Festival and some things that are coming up. But the thing that actually prompted me is that we have an all-female crew here for the first time in what is typically a male-dominated field, and I wanted to make sure to get a picture of it. So I wanted to come down here to make sure that I did that, and also to let you know that with what we do with the job training at PCT, with not just the interns, but also, the dozens of volunteers that it takes to do things like the Fog Festival and the Pumpkin Festival coming up this weekend. Wanted to make a plea to folks that if you want to be a part of it, all you got to do is give us a call, 355-8000 in the 650 area code, and we can train you about the technology and the careers of tomorrow, and for that matter, for today. But yes, I'm very proud of these ladies. It's literally one of these things that the more technical you get, the fewer females you find. That's one area out of many where I think, the glass ceiling has been busted straight through, but in this particular case, not so much. So I'm very excited about that, and very excited that we have a community media center that really looks to the entire community. Now to the things that I had mentioned previously. This last Fog Festival was, I'm sure I don't have to tell you, Madam Mayor, being that your husband was the main guy behind it, but it was a community-wide effort that was really, really difficult this year. And it did take all those volunteers and all those people putting it together. In the case of PCT, we don't just manage the TV, we actually manage the entire main stage. So that lit stage, everything back there, the parking, you name it, is all PCT. And guess what that means? Almost all volunteers. Mm-hmm. I think I had 3, including myself, people on the payroll that were working that day. Everybody else that you saw, and there was 15 of us maybe at any given moment, were volunteers. So we do rely on that community spirit of volunteering and wanting to roll up the shirt sleeves and come out. We hope to see you at Pumpkin Fest. And the last thing I wanted to add is that we're getting ready to do our PCT honors for this year. That's where we take folks in the world of public education and government, and we recognize them. Many of them have been, long overdue to be recognized. So if you have an idea of somebody that you would like to recognize at PCT Honors, that's coming up next month, pacificcoast.tv, martin@pacificcoast.tv. We'd love to hear it. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you. Do we have anyone on the phone?
There are no raised hands.
All right. Seeing no further cards, we'll close public comment. And that brings us, council members, to our consideration items, of which there are 2 this evening. The first one is consideration of a process for recruitment and selection of a new city manager, and to consider adopting a resolution establishing a city manager recruitment ad hoc subcommittee. The staff report on this is coming from
I will give the staff report.
the city attorney,
Yes.
Michelle Kenyon.
Yes, thank you. So on September 26th, our city manager, Kevin Woodhouse, tendered his resignation effective March 11th of 2025. And what that begins is a process for recruiting and selecting the new city manager. Now, generally, cities will use an executive recruiting firm to conduct this, nationwide search. Because recruiting firms are able to provide expertise in various areas, like advertising, developing the profile, working with the council in assessing the candidates, and eventually selecting a candidate. The process for that is one which usually works well with an ad hoc committee of council members, of 2 council members, to work with and interview selected recruitment firms and then make a recommendation to the council. That is a process which tends to work generally, but it's not necessary, so it's totally up to the council as to whether or not the council chooses to use an ad hoc. If an ad hoc is not chosen, that means that the selection of the recruiting firms would then be a decision that would be a recommendation of the full council in an agendized meeting. So the ad hoc committee generally will interview 2 or 3 recruiting firms, bring the proposals back to the council with a recommendation, and then the full council can make the decision either to interview candidates themselves or, go with the ad hoc committee's recommendation. So those are, essentially the actions for you to consider tonight. And I'm available for any questions, but the recommendation is that the council does consider forming an ad hoc committee to assist in the recruitment process and selecting recruitment firms.
Okay. Council members, any questions at this point before I do public comment? Councilmember Wright? No? Not at this time?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Public comment on this item. I don't have any cards, but it may be there's someone wishing to comment. No? Anyone on the phone?
There are no raised hands.
No raised hands. All right, we'll bring it back, then close public comment and bring it back to the council for discussion and an action. I don't have lights. If anyone would like to speak, please jump in.
I just have a question. So, City Attorney Kenyon, so from just having a brief discussion with you, you're kind of key to this process, right? And guiding the council through all the steps. Not just the ad hoc committee, if that's so chosen to appoint a recruitment firm.
I would say I work closely with whatever recruiting firm is selected by the council to conduct the recruitment, and then we both work with the council at every step of the way. Initially, the executive recruiting firm will work directly with the council in developing the candidate profile. I will not be working on that, but I will be working with the council to, once the candidates have submitted applications, working with the council in scheduling closed sessions and interviewing the candidates.
Okay. And at what point, or is there input from the whole council in terms of like outreach to staff or outreach to the community? Does that need to be discussed before recruitment starts so that we have, an RFP,
No,
kind of
that's a great question.
explaining what we'd be expecting of this person?
Generally, that discussion does happen. It happens with the selected recruiting firm and the full council. So the recruiting firm will provide the full council with questions and will detail what the process will look like, and will take suggestions from the full council. So all of that will be done with the full council. Or it can be done with an ad hoc if you wish to delegate all that to the ad hoc, but it doesn't necessarily have to be done that way. At this stage, the primary, not the only purpose, but the initial purpose of the ad hoc committee would be to actually recommend a recruiting firm for the full council.
Okay.
How about, I thought it was a good idea to have a survey, like having the council to see what are we expecting, what are we looking into a city manager.
Yes.
And also having staff giving their input, what do they want in a new city manager? It would be a good idea.
And that is also a common request. Not all councils ask for that, but a lot of councils do. And when they do, you just give that direction to the recruiter, and then the recruiter will talk to you about how you go about getting input either on the candidate profile or, any other issue that you want staff input or, public input. You would work with the recruiter on those issues.
I love that suggestion. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, it'll be really wonderful to get that kind of information. And as far as tonight's item, so we're really just talking about the recruitment selection for.
The selection of an ad hoc.
Yeah, thank you. Yes. And so, what is expected of the ad hoc then? Like, what is the time commitment?
Well, it is whatever the council, the majority of the council direct as, the scope of the ad hoc. If the council wanted to just have the ad hoc work on making a recommendation to the council on the recruitment, and then, make another decision later as to if there's other roles for the ad hoc, that can be done as well. So the ad hoc committee, my suggestion here was just very broad for city manager, an ad hoc for city manager recruitment. In your deliberations, you can design the authority that you want to give that ad hoc to work with, right? In either selecting the recruiters to recommend or, letting the ad hoc make their recommendations with some input from the council and bring it back to the council for that recommendation. After that, there may be other roles for the ad hoc, but sometimes there's not. It all depends on what the council needs from the ad hoc. The issue, until we actually have names of candidates, none of the discussions can be had in closed session. So the reason for the ad hoc is to make the deliberations more streamlined. But that would mean that the full council would be delegating certain responsibilities to the ad hoc, I would imagine that it would be the ad hoc who would work with me to select the, proposals or the proposers for the, executive recruiting firms, and then we'll interview them, and then with my assistance, create a staff report, make that staff report give that staff report to the council, and then a decision will be made. Sometimes the ad hoc has no work after that. There's no desire. Sometimes the ad hoc continues to have tasks to do if the full council wants them to do the tasks.
I appreciate the information. Thank you.
Well, during the interview, I would like to see everybody there because it's a judgment of two people. It doesn't mean that that's the best judgment. It doesn't mean that I don't trust your judgment, but I think that all of us might have skill to select a city manager that maybe these two people don't have. They might have some skill, but not. Yeah, I think it's good to have all of the.
Well, just to clarify, two people wouldn't be selecting
No.
the city manager. Two people might be helping narrow down the recruitment.
Recruitment.
That's all.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll be all
City
of us.
manager would be all of us.
Okay. Yeah, that makes more sense because it will be very, I think, more work if all of us had to do the same thing. So, but yeah, during the interview, I think all of us should be there at the table.
100%.
Thank you.
Yeah. I received a card. I want to let you know. I did call for public comment on this item, so I think it would be helpful.
This is 6. This is not
Is this item 6?
Yeah.
Selection process.
I think that's for council.
Oh, for item 6. Oh, I'm so sorry. Pardon me. I just wanted to address that because it suddenly came to me after I'd asked for it. Thank you. Okay, sorry. Other points, questions?
I would love to be a part of that, and I think you had suggested before, Mary, that it might be the mayor and the mayor pro tem, but maybe you want to explain your reasoning on that and.
I think it's a natural thing for the mayor and mayor pro tem to do, to work together closely on. It's a very important thing that we're doing, and so, very important roles. You're going to be the mayor coming up, so I think it would be good to have you and Sue in that position, and I saw Grace's hand.
Yes, Councilmember Wright.
Yes, I do think that this is probably one of the most important decisions that we're going to make. And I think it would be useful to me, since I do think it makes sense for it to be the mayor and mayor pro tem, but that they come back with 3 recommendations for the full council to choose from, and that the full council gets an opportunity to at least have a phone interview with each of the potential candidates to try to get a better understanding, better inform their decision-making for the recruiting company that we would prospectively hire. And then we would take a vote in public. Does that sound like an unreasonable process, or am I trying to micromanage this too much?
I have seen that process be used by other councils. I've also seen it not be used. So it really, this process is the council's process. So, there's no sort of legal statutory, there are some, but you haven't mentioned anything that I need to bring up. But, this really is your selection. Mm-hmm. And frankly, I agree with Councilmember Wright that this is probably the most momentous decision that you all will make in your term. Mm-hmm. So, this is, you all need to be comfortable with this process. So
100%.
It is yours.
So on that note, with regard to people on the council who wouldn't be part of the ad hoc, having the opportunity to phone interview or information with the individual recommendations, the firms that are recommended, would that, I'm thinking about that from like when we interview for committee and commission appointments. That's something that has
different.
a very prescribed.
Yes,
So can you characterize the difference? Like, would it be if they wanted to speak to
Correct.
the firm, they could. If they didn't, can you give a little bit more color on that?
Once again, this is whatever the council wants to do. This is different than appointments.
Okay.
Right? You are just hiring a consultant.
Got it.
It would be the same, process that you would go through, actually not even as formal as, hiring a city manager or city attorney, right? I mean, it's up to you as to how you want to select your consultant. They're not an employee of the city, right? So it's a different, and they're not an appointed official. So it's a different category of selection.
Right.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Myra, did you want to say something?
I agree with the ad hoc committee, but I don't agree with having them to interview and then we have to, if we want to call the candidate. I mean, it doesn't make sense. So the candidate had to meet with us twice, separately and also with the ad hoc committee. So I prefer that all of us interview. Maybe we watch, and then the two of them can. I don't know. I think it makes more sense to be there. I want to be there.
So you're talking about interviewing the candidates for the actual for the position of city. Right. I think what Councilmember Wright is saying is to talk with the firms that are being considered as the consulting firms.
Yeah, that is okay.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You will definitely be there, Mike.
100%. Would never do it without you.
Thank you.
Okay, so then I guess I'll move to have the mayor and mayor pro tem serve as the ad hoc committee with the suggestions that Greg had put in place.
Second. That anyone can interview those firms, any council member can interview those firms separately.
Correct.
Too.
Yes, but the one caveat, and this is statutorily under the Brown Act, you couldn't all interview them together unless we noticed it as a public meeting.
Right.
So I understood, Councilmember Wright saying that in addition to the ad hoc recommendation, council members could individually call the recruiting firms, all three, before the public agenda item, where all three will be here to interview, and the full council will be asking them questions at that time. Right. So there will be an opportunity for the full council to interview and ask questions of the recruiters. What Councilmember Wright was saying, I think, in addition, which is possible but not required, if any council member felt like talking to the recruiter personally and to asking, a multitude of questions that you don't want to ask, take up time during the count for whatever reason, you could do that as well. But the ad hoc committee will be interviewing initially. The rest of the council will then interview either once or twice. You can do it once when the recruiters are actually here in open session for the selection, or you can do it twice with talking to them privately, telephonically, before the public meeting. It's just, it's up to the council. So I think Councilmember Wright's suggestion satisfies Councilmember Espinoza's concerns about being involved in the interview process.
Yeah, and I guess I wasn't quite clear that all three, assuming, I guess if I'm understanding it right, so the ad hoc might narrow it down to three, and then we would bring three to interview here for...
The reality is there are not that many executive recruitment firms.
Okay.
I know of two off the top of my head. I anticipated that, you might want three, so I had to think myself about a third one. Okay, these are very select firms, right? They're not a lot that do this. And so my guess is the ad hoc would most likely interview at least three recruiting firms. Now, the issue with interviewing, privately that would be telephonically, because some of these recruiting firms are in Los Angeles or, in Sacramento, are not local. So you don't want them driving to Pacifica four separate times, three separate times. So, the process is, and I want to make clear that the ad hoc's role would just be in selecting the three initially, and what I'm telling you is there's usually only three. So there's not that many more to interview. Those three would then be brought before the full council to interview in open session. The only way to interview the recruiting firms in private would be either the ad hoc or the individual council members talking to the recruiters separately. The actual, the formal interview, if you want to call it the formal interview, would be held in public session during an agendized council meeting.
Okay. So the public can also ask questions.
Exactly. Well, they could ask questions, through public comment,
Right.
and then a
Then
council
we can
member
then
could then ask that question again.
Okay.
And Michelle, would the ad hoc committee have the opportunity to make a recommendation on a preference?
Yes, that's part of the proposal, is that the ad hoc would make their recommendation, but then the full council would have an opportunity to meet all three and make a joint decision on the dais.
And is that your understanding of what Mary's motion was?
Yes.
In that case, I would second that motion.
Did you already, Myra?
I'm just joking here. Well, I don't think this, he had to be a good dancer, for sure.
I'm sorry.
The requirement is that he had to be a good dancer.
Or she.
Or she.
Okay.
Okay.
So, City Clerk, do you have what you need for us to take a vote?
Had a motion made by Councilmember Beer to appoint Mayor
Well,
Beckmeyer.
it would be to adopt the resolution attached to the staff report, and the ad hoc committee, we need to fill in the blanks, and the ad hoc committee would be comprised of the mayor, Sue Beckmeyer, and the vice mayor, Christine Bowles.
So moved.
And I believe I heard a second by Councilmember Wright. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Correct.
And I'll start the roll call vote with Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Espinosa.
Yes.
Councilmember Beer.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bowles.
Yes.
Mayor Beckmeyer.
Yes.
And that motion passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Can I interrupt for just a second? My phone told me that I am having battery issues. I changed plugs. Just in case I run out of battery, I wanted to make sure you knew what happened. So hopefully I'm in a better plug. I
Okay.
unplugged the light that was working and plugged it in, but just wanted to let you know.
Okay,
what
so
was-
you don't need a break to go take care of that? You're saying it's taken care of?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
I
great.
think. I can't see if it's charging while I'm on Zoom is the challenge.
Got it. All right. Well, we have one more item before us, Council, item 6, discussion of possible options for amendments to mayor and vice mayor selection process policy. And we have who's doing the staff report? Sorry, it's on another page.
I'm bringing up that staff report, Mayor.
Oh, that's who
Mayor?
it was, right.
One moment, please.
Okay, great. Thank you, City Clerk Coffey.
Mayor Beckmeyer, Vice Mayor Bowles, and council members, this item number 6 is for the discussion of potential options for amendments to the mayor and vice mayor selection process policy. This is as directed by the council to form an ad hoc subcommittee to review the process. The agenda for this item will be looking at the current process, briefly looking at the council ad hoc subcommittee that was established and the direction given to the subcommittee, bringing the findings from the ad hoc subcommittee and addressing decision points that were identified by the ad hoc subcommittee for policy development for input from the full council, addressing any questions, and the questions can be mostly directed to the ad hoc subcommittee members and or staff. And then city council consideration and direction for next steps to bring a amended policy forward. The current process for the mayor and vice mayor selection is dictated by Administrative Policy Number 17. It states that the city council shall select one of its number as mayor and one of its number as mayor pro tem at a city council meeting scheduled to be held as soon as the election results are certified by the county clerk. Typically, that's the first, it's either the first regular meeting in December or a special meeting in December once the election results are certified if it's an election year. At the City Council meeting on January 27th of this year, the City Council appointed an ad hoc subcommittee consisting of Councilmember Beer and Councilmember Espinosa to evaluate policies for the annual selection of mayor and vice mayor for a transparent and clear process. And the council feedback from the January 27th meeting showed interest in an equitable representation for districts, a minimum amount of service for eligibility for vice mayor or mayor. For instance, a newly elected council member would not be eligible for the position of mayor or vice mayor, and a supermajority vote to differ from the established policy. Some background information that would weigh in on the policy and process is that City of Pacifica currently has a district-based election. The 5 districts were established in December 2018. The first district-based election was held in November 2020. With the establishing of the districts, a district election cycle was established with districts 1 and 4 elected every 4 years beginning in 2020, and then a subsequent election for districts 1 and 4 would occur in 2024, 2028, and so on. Districts 2, 3, and 5 would be elected every 4 years beginning with November 2022, and then 2026 would be the next election for districts 2, 3, and 5, and 2030, and so on. The City of Pacifica currently has term limits that are dictated by Pacifica Municipal Code Section 2-8.04, indicating that no person who has served 2 terms of office shall be eligible to run for election as Pacifica City Council member, and indicates that a partial term exceeding 2 years is considered a full term. So with these provisions, a council member may serve up to 10 years if a council member was elected or appointed to serve a partial term of no more than 2 years. And that's I'm just going to briefly go into the summary of the ad hoc subcommittee review. The ad hoc subcommittee met several times to review the policy and process, and then met with staff a few times. The timeline for the selections would be the first regular meeting or special meeting in December for selecting a mayor pro tem. The selection of the mayor would be typically the vice mayor would be selected as the mayor unless the vice mayor declines or defers. Later on, I'll go over some special circumstances. The selection of vice mayor would be based on eligibility criteria and a selection process in the proposed policy. And then there's the caveat that a member may decline or defer a nomination for vice mayor. Confirmation of the mayor and vice mayor requires a motion, a second, and a majority vote. Special circumstances and key decision points will be reviewed by the full council in tonight's discussion, and the presentation will walk through some of those special circumstances. For transparency, the final policy, once adopted, will be made public and accessible on the city website. For eligibility, I'm going to step into the process and the discussion of the vice mayor first, because the sort of happy path for mayor would be that the vice mayor becomes mayor. So it's quick and easy in the happy path, as I call it. So vice mayor, we have a little bit more decisions, and is a little bit more complex for that path. For eligibility for vice mayor, the ad hoc subcommittee agreed that to be considered for vice mayor, the council member should have served at least 1 year on council. Ineligible if the council member is in the final year of their second term. This would mean that they would serve as vice mayor, but then the next year they'd be terming out, so there's not that opportunity for the vice mayor to become mayor in the following year. This is where we come to a decision point where for ineligibility, the question would be what length of time would be considered for past service as mayor or vice mayor to determine ineligibility. I think that the point of what the ad hoc subcommittee was trying for was that ideally, each council member in their terms of service would have the opportunity to serve as mayor or vice mayor at least once. But because of term limits, it's may not always be possible to achieve that. So I think that the decision point would be looking at past years of service, and if that council member has served as mayor or vice mayor in the past 3 years or the past 4 years up to the city council, that would not allow them to serve again as mayor or vice mayor. And we can just run through and look at the decision points and then come back if you like, so that you kind of have the full lay of the land, or we can discuss the decision points as we go. It's up to council.
Did you have a question?
No, I think we can move forward and come back.
Okay. And then I think if we run through kind of the decision points, then at the end with questions, the ad hoc subcommittee members may weigh in with their take as well. For the selection method of vice mayor, another decision point came up. There were two options that were discussed. One option was to follow a district rotation, so selecting the vice mayor in a district-based sequence, starting with District 4, and then in the following year, District 1, the following year, District 3, then District 5, District 2, and then repeating that cycle. So, and then looking at the eligibility criteria, if the district representative for that district is ineligible, for instance, if there was an election and let's say the District 4 representative is a newly elected and has not served 1 year, then you'd look to the next district in the rotation for the nomination. The other option that was brought up by the ad hoc subcommittee to consider was a public drawing. So taking the district rotation out, but just looking at eligibility, and if there's more than one eligible candidate for vice mayor, according to the eligibility criteria that was presented, then the names of those council members would be put into a hat and drawn out by a neutral party, and whoever is drawn out of the hat would be considered the nomination for the vice mayor. And then this table is showing a example of the district rotation schedule, if that's followed for the District 4, 1, 3, 5, 2 sequencing. It also shows when, according to that sequence, if the eligibility criteria is met in each of those years for those districts, then shows the sequencing of the mayor representation by district as well. For the public drawing method, as I mentioned, the city clerk would present all of the eligible council member names based on the policy's eligibility criteria for vice mayor. The name of each eligible candidate would be put into a hat, and a neutral party would randomly select one of the names, and that would be the one nominated as vice mayor. There could be a case where there are no council members eligible based on the eligibility criteria. In that case, all of the council member names would be put into the hat, excluding the current vice mayor, and then a selection would be made. So moving on to special circumstances, this is where, so for the eligibility criteria for the mayor, this would mostly come into play if the vice mayor, if the vice mayor is not going to be nominated as the mayor, and that could occur if there's a vacancy and there's no sitting vice mayor at the time. The vice mayor may decline or defer the nomination to be mayor. So that's where this special circumstance may come into play, where we need to look at eligibility criteria and a selection process for mayor. To be eligible for mayor, the council member needs to have served at least 1 year on council and served as vice mayor in the preceding year. Ineligible decision point is similar to the vice mayor ineligibility decision point. This was asking whether you would consider 3 years or 4 years for the length of past service to determine if the council member has served as mayor or vice mayor in the past 3 years or the past 4 years to make them not eligible for that selection again. If the vice mayor declines or defers the nomination for mayor, if all other council members are ineligible to be nominated for mayor based on the mayor eligibility criteria, a council member who previously served as mayor could be considered again. So that's kind of giving the priority to somebody who hasn't served before, but if they have, then they can serve as mayor again. Vacancies and partial terms may come up. Council may occasionally select a new mayor or vice mayor outside of the annual December meeting process. If a vacancy for mayor arises mid-year, or then the vice mayor would serve as the mayor until the council appoints a new mayor. If a vacancy for vice mayor arises mid-year, the city council would appoint a new vice mayor in accordance with the policy. If a council member is elected or appointed to serve a partial term, then they would be ineligible to serve as mayor or vice mayor during that first year of their partial term. In special circumstance where the vice mayor declines or defers the nomination for mayor, or if the vice mayor is not reelected for a second term. The vice, we have a decision point to make here where we need input from city council on whether we look at the eligibility criteria for the mayor or the eligibility criteria for the vice mayor to determine selection of mayor here. And then just as a reminder, both have eligibility criteria to have served at least 1 year on council and not served as mayor or vice mayor in the past 3 or 4 years, whichever the council selects. And for the vice mayor ineligibility is that they are not in their final year of their second full term. If only one council member meets the eligibility criteria as established, then that council member would be nominated as mayor. If there's multiple council members that meet the eligibility criteria, this is where the council would need to weigh in on the selection method for the mayor. Would we look at district rotation, or would we look at a public drawing to determine which of the multiple council members would be nominated, or another method? If no council members meet the eligibility criteria as laid out in the policy, we need input on the selection method, whether that be district rotation, public drawing, or another process. We need input from the council on the situation if the vice mayor defers the nomination for mayor, so not just declining the nomination for mayor, with the deferral intending that there's some expectation for future. So that would be, does the council member that's deferring the nomination for mayor become the next eligible for mayor in the following year, so kind of top of the cycle? And in this case, there would be a different person sitting as vice mayor, so looking at who would take priority. Would it be the vice mayor that deferred the nomination for mayor, or would it be the sitting vice mayor to take priority for that selection as mayor? Another option is whether the council member who deferred the nomination for mayor goes to the bottom of the list for consideration for mayor. And just to note that deferrals and declining cannot be rescinded during that meeting. So, for instance, if the selection process is going away that the person who deferred or declined doesn't like, then it's no take-backs.
Sarah, can I ask a question real quick, if that's okay, through the mayor?
Yeah, please.
That also pertains, the same question is for the vice mayor, right? Like, if they defer the nomination for vice mayor, the same question is in play, right?
Well, I think I would presume that the deferral or declining the nomination would likely come up more in the mayor selection process than vice mayor. I would anticipate, but you can weigh in if you disagree in the vice mayor. If the person declines, then, let's say that we're doing the selection out of a hat, then their name just wouldn't go in the hat for that selection.
If they defer, so there's the difference between deferring, right? The word deferring and
Right.
decline.
And decline.
So I think we'll have to, that's something we can talk about.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, so we want some clear input on that scenario as well.
Yes, please.
If the council member, so this was what you were leading into, the decision point that I kind of laid out here was to confirm that any deferral or nomination for vice mayor doesn't carry a future expectation, but if you have different direction, then we would incorporate that into the policy.
Thank you.
Deferrals and declinations cannot be rescinded during that meeting. So if all of a sudden you don't like the way things are going, then no take-backs.
Or if no one steps up, can you take it back? I mean, anyway, we can talk about
I think it's just, it's kind of a complicated process, and there's complicated decision points that I think once you adhere to a policy, if you have somebody that is deciding, oh, I don't want to decline after all, then it would just further complicate things and kind of not meet the objective of having a clear process. We also need some input on if the vice mayor declines or defers the nomination for mayor. This is what I was talking about. Who would have the priority? Would the sitting vice mayor or the vice mayor that deferred? And then also if can the vice mayor serve consecutive years as vice mayor? So if the vice mayor defers or declines the nomination for mayor, can they continue to serve another year as vice mayor?
We have a raised hand from Councilmember Wright.
And we can't see you, Councilmember Wright, because the slides are on. So please go ahead.
It's fine to wait to the end of the presentation.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Okay.
So I'm just at the end of the presentation now. So what we're looking for tonight is council providing clear direction on the policy decision points that were presented. The next steps would be taking the council majority direction from this meeting, and then we would draft an amended administrative policy number 17 for the selection of mayor and vice mayor, which would come back to council for its consideration and adoption at a future meeting.
Wow. That was a very complicated staff report. Thank you for, I want to say, I appreciate the way the staff report was written in the packet with the red questions. It did help me focus on the questions for council. There are a number of them as it goes through the policy, so I'm certainly open to any additional questions that we want to add or thoughts. I had the same question that you had, I think, Mary, regarding deferrals for vice mayor. I think we need to get that, figure out where that should go in to the conversation. Are there any other items? I know Greg had a point to make. Any other items, though, that we feel we did not see as options here that we should be putting on the table for any of these steps?
Would that come for during deliberation, or?
Just because I want to make sure we don't lose it. Yeah.
I'd like to hear from the ad hoc committee a little bit too, just like about your discussions, about like what cities you looked at, this seems like something I haven't really seen exactly. So, yeah, I would just like to hear from you two about where.
I will say we. I thought it was a good idea to draw our own policy without, looking at other policy. Not that we didn't pay attention to other policy, but I thought the key here was to make sure that every elected council member will have the opportunity to serve as a mayor and vice mayor. And in the deferred part was no one knows what could have happened to somebody, that they don't feel like, okay, I have so much going on, I cannot serve as I'll say, mayor. And I thought it was a good idea to have the flexibility to defer if you're not ready or for any reason for mayor. Did we say vice mayor too? Defer? For both. Just to give the flexibility that if you feel like you can't make it, so you can have that option to defer. And maybe going, that part, maybe I would like the person to go in the bottom, on the top of the line, because they're giving their space to the other person coming, if they're available. So And the reason why is that if they go at the bottom of the line, they might not serve because we only have two terms. But remember, that person maybe didn't have the opportunity to serve at all. And I wanted to make sure that if for any reason that person has any hardship and they cannot make it, I would like to see that they will have the opportunity to serve in a later point and not being left out completely during the 4 years.
And I totally appreciate what you're saying. I don't want us to get into deliberation, though, until after we go to public comment, because I know we have a lot to say.
Right.
So if that is had answered your question, then cool. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, Greg, please go ahead, Councilmember Wright.
I have a number of opinions that I will save for after public comment, but I wanted to channel Glenn Sylvester and say that the task that we gave this subcommittee is an extremely difficult task. And I can see through it, a ton of thought went through it, a ton of attempts to try to make things as equitable and fair for everyone. And it just seems like it's an impossible task to achieve. And I just think they did great work, and I wanted to express to them that I appreciate how much they must have poured over this to get us here. And then I'll reserve the rest of my comments for after public comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, clarifying questions? Or shall we go to public comment? Let's go to public comment. I have one card at this point. Michael Wallman.
Hi, Mike Wallman. Thanks again. Hope you're all having a great evening. I know I am. So now bringing the focus back to number 6 as opposed to the high-level item I used in general comments, I would like to note first, I think it makes a lot of sense to have minimum criteria. I don't see a problem with saying 1 year of experience. I do think that, however, ineligibility criteria or maximum amount of time that somebody could need to wait before re-election is too assumptive of somebody being reelected. I would instead advocate that you just stick to the vice mayor not being able to run in their final term, and that could be 1 term, in fact. So I'd say perhaps you can't run for vice mayor your first year, period, and say you can't run for vice mayor in the last year of your current term, period. Then above and beyond that, I'm not necessarily a huge fan of the idea of district cycling. It presumes that every member should be elected. I think that's something that would be best left to the council to make that decision as to whom should be elected when, not necessarily which district they represent and why. They should be within that perhaps only 1 single term of office, not assuming everyone will be reelected. So going on from that, I go back to what I mentioned earlier, assuming we don't choose to elect a mayor, that perhaps instead a better option may be to expand the council to 7 members as opposed to 5. I would advocate that 2 of those members be ad hoc or at-large members, and thereby that would expand considerably the number of people that could be eligible at any given time. It would also ensure that the best candidate was always elected within the defined eligibility criteria, and that this would do away once and for all with the historical precedent, whether it be by only at-large members or only districts, and break through that mindset, just like it was broken through when the change was from at-large to district-based. Let's truly move away from this idea that every person who's elected deserves to become vice mayor or mayor. I think it's a great, thought to consider that, giving everybody the possibility. I'm not against anybody in particular being in that position, but let's move away from the historical precedent. Let's pick the best candidate. Let's select from 7 members. Thank you.
Thank you. If there's anyone else who wishes to speak on this item, I'm just not seeing anyone come forward. Is there anyone on the phone, Vice Assistant City Clerk?
No.
Okay. So no additional public comment? Not seeing any hands go up? Then we'll close public comment. Bring it back to council for discussion, deliberation, and I open the floor, except for I'm going to give Councilmember Beard the first
Is this
shot
the talking
because she
stick?
put her light on. Yes, if you wish to have it.
Okay.
No, I was moving it out of the way of the light.
First of all, I want to thank Myra. This was so not an easy thing to do. And I really, on top of that, even more want to thank Sarah and Emily because somehow you both were able to wade through all of our information that we handed you and you came back with this. So thank you so much. I know it was not easy dealing with us either. I spoke to other council members in other cities. I spoke to Glenn Sylvester. He approached me. So I was happy to hear Greg talk about him. I talked to people from South City. I talked to people in Half Moon Bay. I talked to people in Redwood City. And the bottom line, I think, there were so many variables, including the term limits, which really, we don't hear that in other cities. And so that's where we really differ from other cities. And they're like, oh, we don't know what to do with that. We don't know what to do with your term limits. And so Myra and I, we came at an impasse, which was interesting too, because we were both had the same goal, but we couldn't come to the same decision. So we kind of put together our two ideas, which was very confusing for Sarah and Emily. Yeah, and confusing for us too, but it was interesting to come to an impasse with you, Myra, because you were so gracious about it, and because we kind of we went for it, like, and it was the thing that we really came to an impasse was if the vice mayor, the person who is being appointed as vice mayor defers, do they go to the front of the line or the back of the line? And I think I was kind of passionate about that because I had assumptions when I deferred that I would go to the front of the line. And so I feel that that should not be the case, that if you defer, you should go to the back of the line in hindsight. Hindsight's 2020. But yeah, we just couldn't get there with that point. And so I really look forward to the conversations that we're gonna have. And I think we should go from top down, just how Sarah has it laid out in the staff report, so we can carefully discuss each point. Yeah, again, this was not easy and it's not clear, and I don't even know if we thought of all the variables or not.
No, we didn't.
There's just so many that it became ineffective for us to keep the discussion going.
Okay.
And I wanted to go, okay, my background is computer programming. So I wanted to do all of the scenario. I want to go this way, that way, to figure it out, okay, where do we meet? Because if we were to do it by districts, then it will be an issue later that we're not going to be able to, when the term limits ends, there will be a variable there. It will be very difficult to when we have new people coming in, depending on if the person is running or is only doing 4 years, there are a lot of variables. So the key here will be to leave this policy maybe open if we needed it when it comes time that we don't know what to do. So maybe we had to go back and figure it out because it might not work at a certain point. And that's what I needed more time to kind of go back to it. But I think we And we came up with something, so it wasn't that easy, to be honest.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and you know, Mary, at the end of the day, I thought, okay, whatever outcome comes,
We tried.
yeah, we can deal with that, because the beauty of this is that we can change policy.
Yeah.
They're not set in stone. So we can change it later, whatever happened. I decided to let it go. Don't get too intense, and, you know, thank you.
No, thank you too. And I think that's another place where we came to an impasse was the rotation. Because in my mind, having a district rotation just makes things clear for the public and everyone. And then if there's all these variables that come in, then we're going to look at the criteria for the variables. And if all else fails, you go to the district rotation. But Greg has his hand up.
Greg has his hand up, and Vice Mayor Bowles has her hand up. Who was first?
Greg.
Please go ahead, Councilmember Wright.
Both these systems, the way you guys had them set up, benefits me in that I will get the opportunity to serve twice. So I think I should be the one that speaks up about, with it, just with us being 5, it automatically means that Myra and my districts, since there's only 2 of us in that election, have a higher chance of having the opportunity to serve twice down the line. So
If you run again.
Yeah, I'm just saying that there's a built-in potential for inequity.
Yep.
When it comes down to the deferral thing, something that wasn't ever mentioned is, like, because of my experience on Planning Commission, we've had multiple women with child, and that's a very good reason to want to defer. And I don't think you should have to go to the back of the line just because you happen to have a child. So I have some concerns about that. I do think that we need to preserve an option for a second nomination to go along with whoever's getting nominated. I do think it's super important for council to have some discretion, similar to the public comment, in trying to choose the best person for the job. And I'm also very interested in understanding, since district elections, what is the historical sequence of who served, what districts have had representation serving as mayor since the start and inception of districts.
Well, all districts so far have, since we became district?
Since we became districts, it would been 4,
1,
1,
5.
and 5.
And 5. Well, we had to go back to I think some people will, and we went back to 2018. We went back to the back, Sarah, and then
2020.
2020 was the first election with districts.
yeah, but then all of this, the people who were here, like both of you, both of your district has been mayor. You've been mayor twice, and then Suba, District 1 has been mayor twice.
But my district has never
not
been
accurate.
mayor. I was mayor, but before district.
But not your district. Okay, the whole thing is, I think like district is very difficult to accomplish. It had to be elected officials, because no matter what happened, the elected official is going to prevail, because if we do it by district, it will be a time when the district doesn't qualify, because 1 year term. Like when District 2 ends, then this district is the next coming, but it can be a mayor pro tem, because he's not being on council, he will just come in. So it's not going to work. And that's the reason why, believe it or not, Greg is like, we thought about this a lot.
Yeah.
It's not that easy. It seems easy, but it's not.
We banged our heads on the table, literally. Sue?
Vice Mayor.
Oh, yes.
First, I just want to thank you guys for doing all this work, and I was pulling my hair out trying to understand the agenda, and I can imagine the work that you were trying to do to, figure out all the different permutations and combinations that were possible and how this would work. But I wanted to pull it back to a minute, partly to address a public comment, but the two options that you've presented here, and maybe there's another one, but the district rotation and the public drawing. I mean, both of these were with the intention, which I think was the direction that we gave before, of having fair representation among all the districts, right? So that one district isn't, put aside. We see that happening in some cities, like Daly City, where they just repeatedly don't allow one council member to have that role.
Yeah.
And that's not something we want. And that, yes, there might be one person here who's better than another to be mayor, but we all help each other, and it's not about perfection. It's about sharing the responsibility and the opportunity to do that. And so I appreciate the two options that you've put forward. I know South City was the one that had a strict district rotation, and I'm seeing problems with that too. I'm just looking at my numbers for District 2, and I hadn't thought about Greg's point about, maybe there's a little bit of unfairness, and I'll just explain. So, like, for me, so if I'm mayor next year and then I get reelected, then, in my fourth year, it would be my vice mayor district, but I would be ineligible, which makes complete sense. But then if someone else is elected that following year, then they're not up for another 4 years, which means that they might not have a turn, right? If it's the strict rotation, because I've passed my turn. And so that's where I think the strict rotation may not make as much sense.
I think we're trying to combine things somehow so that there's something to fall back on if necessary. I don't know how we can do it, but.
Yeah. Well, and this is what made me think about Redwood City, and the public drawing might work, so we can talk about that more as another option. What I saw Redwood City doing is like putting a list together, and then there's sort of priorities, based on, when you were elected, if you've served in the past before. So it's not that anyone's ineligible, it's that there's priorities, and you work down your list of priorities.
It's a better word.
Right? Because there are times, like I see in East Palo Alto, someone who's a brand new council member is the vice mayor, right, because whatever happened there. Or if people do decline, you might need someone to step up. And so I don't know if there's a way that there's a little bit more flexibility in terms of prioritizing who's first. And some of that might involve drawing, like, for example, Greg and Myra, both elected at the same time, right? So, unless one of you says, I'm not quite ready, I'll, let you serve, which might very well happen. But if there's not that agreement, then it could be a drawing. So that, again, you're just establishing the priority.
We tried to do it.
Right. So, I see that in what you're doing.
And that was the point. That was the point that I raised, but it went all over and got lost.
Yeah.
So my key here was, okay, we have 2 council members coming, like Greg and I, and guess what? If I wanted to be a vice mayor, how are we going to do this? So I proposed that both of us go talk to city clerk. Am I vocative today? I am.
No, please do. Go for it.
So I thought both of us go, we have an interest. Both of us will go and talk to the city clerk and say, city clerk, we're both interested. We both want to be vice mayor. So that was the way I proposed it at the beginning. So I feel like, okay, if I don't care who goes first. So that's why we put it like that, because I'm okay with that. But it might be people who are not okay with that, then we will have a problem. The whole direction was that both of us came here. We're the only one eligible. So we will choose who's going to go. And in order to choose who's going to go fairly, we will draw the name of the person. That way you don't feel like, oh, they voted against me or so. So, and then when we come in the 3, we will do the same because they have the same, they are at the same level. And the 3 of them, in some cases, might want to be a vice mayor. So in that case, we can draw their names. That way they don't feel like, oh, yeah, same thing. And that was the whole idea with the drawing. But I think it went another way. And
No, I don't think
I'm
so.
okay.
I don't think it went another way.
I think it was because they didn't ask us to, like, they chose District 4. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. So we already put in there, like, oh, District 4, and then we started with this.
So that was me.
No,
But
I'm
you
okay.
know how many times you said you didn't want it?
You know
So
what?
many
I'm okay
times.
with that. I am okay with that.
But I know you are. But then I wanted to throw in that what you just said that would be another variable. So if Christine
Right.
ran again, then it would
Right.
right? So there
The
would be the
2 people, it would be
coming
2 people
Yeah.
that are eligible,
Right,
and they
right.
probably want to be considered.
in. No, I think you did great, Myra.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I do agree that, like, if somebody has served before, like, that's why I like the preferential one, like, move to the bottom of the list, right? And then, so that
So you know.
hopefully so that, 1, you know, and 2, like, everybody gets a chance, hopefully everybody gets a chance to serve in their first 4 years.
And that makes a difference for someone,
it-
whether they defer or not, because then they're going to know.
And
So
both
that
of
was-
us
that
were
was
very
personal for-
mindful. Both of us were made very mindful of taking this big responsibility out of the council members and just let it be.
Say that one more time, please. Both of us were, what did you just say?
Well, both of us were working on the same, like, we want fairness, we want everyone to have the opportunity to serve without council kind of choosing. We are already elected official. We don't need another election to be considered to be a mayor or vice mayor, because we are already elected. And to be honest, I'm the less interested person here, but I feel like for other people, I'm just like outside, like I'm not here, because it doesn't matter to me.
What you didn't want us is arguing about.
We don't want
So-
people arguing about
So is
this.
that what you meant by taking it out of the hands of the council?
Yes.
Because you were seeking to avoid conflict. Is that a fair
Well,
statement?
not only that, it's just because we are already elected official. Why do we have to have council selecting who should be a mayor or vice mayor? I feel that what happened if people want another person? I mean, because if it was impartial, yeah, maybe. It just avoiding the confrontation that people had to choose who's supposed to be a mayor or vice mayor.
And I don't see you on the outskirts of anything right now. In this very moment, you are stepping up and you are talking about how you feel and you're laying it all out there, which is what a mayor would do. So don't take yourself out of the running yet.
So-
Thank you. Well, I work on this. That's why if I know what I'm talking about, we already work on this. That's why I can talk.
What I'm hearing among my co-council members is a desire to bake into the process avoidance of conflict. And I understand the need for that, but I also understand that in human endeavors, that's always a possibility. So any concept of a strict rotation, because that's more fair, I'm not sure that's accurate because of the point that was made about the election cycle that has 2 council members running on that particular election cycle versus the election cycle that has 3 council members running. when there are only 4 years in a term.
Yeah.
What I heard just now was the preference, the desire for there to be an opportunity for every person who runs for a 4-year term on the city council to serve as mayor.
Well,
And to get to serving as mayor, you serve as vice mayor. Eventually, the math stops working because there's not enough years for it to all work out. And what I have heard multiple times, not just today, and not just when we gave direction to the ad hoc, and not just over the 2 months that we heard from the community on this issue, but all through those experiences, what I'm hearing is a desire for a baked-in way to avoid conflict or perceived conflict. I don't think that's possible. So I think we need to just dispel that. For purposes of this discussion, we can't make it completely fair. It's just not possible.
because it's not fair.
And it's not against anybody. It's not, a vote of no confidence. It's a mathematical reality. As you stated, you're a computer programmer, and I understand what I saw you in this, it made a lot of sense when you made that comment, is like, oh, I see, you're trying to do decision variables. When you get to this point, you either do this or that.
Exactly.
And then if you do this, then you can either do that or that.
That's right.
It's not possible to make it completely devoid of individual, among the 5 people that are sitting in these chairs, there is going to be some aspect of this that we cannot mathematically or from a computer point of view program into the process. I think we just have to accept that. And so one thing that I would like to suggest, I think we need a process for tonight, first of all. I think we're going to go to the top of the agenda and work our way down and answer every red question, every question that appears in red on our agenda or something to that effect. But what I'm going to call for right now, and I'll be the first one to offer a suggestion, is if there's anything in these items that say question for council, blah, blah, blah. If there's anything that you didn't see in these questions for council in the staff report, I'd like to put it on the table or put it into the conversation. For me, I would like to suggest that it was offered as an either or. Either we have a process, a rotation or some kind of method, or we put all the names in the hat. And if we put all the names in the hat, then we prevail upon the city clerk to state who is eligible. I would like to suggest that regardless of what process we adopt, if we have qualifying criteria like you have to have served on the council for a year to be eligible for vice mayor, or you cannot be eligible for vice mayor because you are in your final term,
Right.
your final year of your 4-year term, that may quickly eliminate certain people by virtue of those factors, so that before any nomination would be made or any discussion would be had, that the city clerk would state, this person is eligible, this person is eligible, this person is eligible. So that is very clear to all of the council members sitting here making the decision and to the public.
Yeah.
So that's my one contribution to what I saw here, that I did, that I wanted to include that because I didn't see that here. There are a couple of places where we're asking the council to decide, should it be 3 years, in the past 3 years or in the past 4 years? So I'd like to hear from the ad hoc committee on what the discussion was around that. What was the purpose of that?
Actually, we didn't discuss the 3 years. That was the suggestion. But anyhow, I believe that.
I can't hear.
Oh, sorry. The 3-year, 2-year.
Discuss that.
Huh?
Start back and tell Greg that you didn't discuss that in your ad hoc.
We didn't discuss the 3-4 years. And if we go, but I do have a question on that one. Like, if we go the 3 years, what is it going to happen? Because you're not going to choose 3 or 2 or 4, without knowing what's going to happen if you choose 3. We have consequences every time we choose something. So
That's true.
we had to go back to maybe figure it out. If we choose 3, what is it going to happen there? If we choose 4, so yeah.
I think it would be helpful to start with qualifying criteria, and then that maybe starts to eliminate, and maybe some of those decisions aren't so
Yeah,
important.
and I think that's what Sarah was trying to map out in the staff.
And they did a great job putting this together.
She really is trying to map out the qualifications.
Greg, your hand is up.
Yeah, you had asked if there was anything that wasn't there that we should consider, and I wanted to respond to that.
Thank you.
I still do think that it's super important to have the opportunity for a second nomination prior to any vote being taken, to ask, are there any other nominations and seconds?
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what system we choose, to maintain maximum discretion for council.
And Mayor, if I can respond to that. So the draft policy criteria does include the, and it was sort of previously discussed by the council, by supermajority vote, the policy doesn't need to be followed, that other nominations can be taken. And then if you match up that option with what our council rules and procedures say about motions, and seconds and alternate motions, that always exists, right? So you have a policy, it says, let's say it says you need a supermajority vote to not follow the policy. Someone is following the policy and makes a motion. According to the policy, you can have an alternate motion that says, I'm moving that we, by supermajority vote, don't follow the policy, right? And so I think a key point on, so as long as the city attorney concurs with what I'm saying, a key point on that is this policy provision about, do you need just a majority vote or a supermajority vote to not follow the policy?
Thank you. And what is happening in our sister city next door in Daly City is that the supermajority is never letting one council member do anything. And it's been that way, year after year after year.
Thanks,
So,
Mary.
there's something about that doesn't sit well with me, because they're just so mean, right? And we don't, I don't know.
And the whole thing, why are we doing all this work for nothing if the council's going to make a decision at the end of the day? I don't see the need of going through all this policy when we sit here and then the council's going to make a decision, the majority is going to choose another person. It's not like, right now we have a vice mayor. Are we going to choose another person to become a mayor because the majority of council doesn't like this vice mayor? So that is my question. And that's why the whole reason to rotate is to avoid voting, or at least the vote had to be agreed on the rotation schedule.
I'm going to give you an example where it may be there's a desire, despite the rotation, despite what had been previously agreed to, where perhaps the sitting council members at that moment, in light of information that has just come to the public, may not want to follow what was previously ordained per the policy. There's presently a city that the current, I believe it's the current mayor, but it could be the vice mayor, has admitted to embezzling funds from their church, $300,000. It led to that person attempting suicide. Now, that's an extreme case, but it presents some facts that we can't possibly imagine right now as eventualities, but we wouldn't want to be putting ourselves into a position where we're seeking to avoid people being mean, and we put ourselves into a place where we have to say, well, our policy says that person is now the mayor. I hear what the city manager is saying, and I appreciate that. A vote of the supermajority to disallow that policy to go forward for that person to become the mayor, I'm not sure that would be the best choice based on our own council rules and ethics and all of these things. I think the council needs to retain the ability to make a different choice. And so what I read in this staff report was the question, I don't know if I read the question this way, but I, in my mind, had the question, does it need to be a supermajority or just a majority? I don't know. I'm not sure what's to be gained exactly. The example that you gave about another city near us is perhaps the reason.
Yeah.
But you can't, what can you do about that? It seems to me, if it's supermajority in that particular instance, and if that is occurring, that is the outcome that is happening. I would imagine there might be other factors at play about why that's so. I don't know. But how would that be avoided if you had a majority or a supermajority? That situation, the 4-to-1 situation that you described.
It wouldn't.
Right?
No.
Right? So you can't bake it in.
Because it didn't matter, because they're all like, voting against her. I don't know. And that's why this is so frustrating. The whole thing's
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course, please. Hopefully a clarifying one.
What is our higher charge to get to get what's best for the city of Pacifica, or to avoid conflict?
It's to establish a transparent, fair, and predictable system for us and for the public. A transparent, fair, and predictable system.
Okay. That could get changed by the next council.
It could.
Yes.
I think part of what's missing is like just in any ordinance or whatever, like these are the tenets that we're shooting for, right? To explain the whys of the process, and that hopefully, the next council will also, appreciate those three things that Mary just read, right? It's about us, but it's also about having trust so that we can work together, and it's also about being fair to the people in the community that have elected each of us. It's not just about us, right?
Yes.
And again, the goal is that we're all helping each other, whoever is actually leading, right?
And I feel like the policy, the way it is a mess. And we're here. We are already elected officials. Our job is to work together and help the community. That's our job. It's not fighting to be a mayor or vice mayor. That's what I think.
I tell you, I think it's easier to pick a vice mayor and mayor than it is to figure this process out.
Tell me about it.
Yeah.
If the problem is here is the voting, just rotate, period. And put the policy in there. If you're a bad person, you don't, what is the bad person? What is the criteria that this person cannot be a mayor or vice mayor? Put the criteria there. If the person have this, whatever, you put it there. Otherwise, it's going to be the same if you're going to pick over the person that is already in the line waiting to be a mayor or vice mayor. If people are going to pick over, then why should we be here talking about this new policy? It doesn't make sense.
Sarah, do you have any thoughts on the matter?
So help us here.
My thoughts are that the current policy gives maximum flexibility, but there's no predictability.
Right.
So you're trying to balance predictability and fairness with flexibility, and I think you have to give up one or the other. There could be like a less rigid policy where you establish some qualifying criteria or eligibility criteria. And then I heard some suggestion of then the city clerk will report out the names of those individuals. And then you could leave it up to council's choice to make a nomination of those individuals or hear from those individuals that are, meet the qualifying factors to, present a statement or a case for selection. And, not nail down a specific rotation or not be, leave it up to random selection with a name out of a hat. So there could be, a compromise in that regard to allow for flexibility, but to establish some qualifying criteria. That option wasn't presented in the presentation, but it's another idea.
City Attorney, did you have something? And then
Well,
Councilmember Wright.
Since the question was thrown out, I'll say to staff, I have a lot of experience with councils and the mayor, vice mayor selection. And I have seen all different types of policies. And number one, it does start with the 5 of you in terms of how do you want to select, and think about it, for you 5, right? Because I've heard some of you say, well, this policy can be changed. Yes, and I will say it's changed a lot. I have seen policies that are this complex for a year. The following year, they're changed because the council members are finding that it's too difficult to implement the policy. That may happen, that may not happen. What I see happen once these complicated, inflexible policies are adopted is the next iteration of the policy generally looks like what the city clerk just mentioned, which is it is based on, it is put in the protocols so that every council member reads it as, that's one of their first packet of materials. And it goes through the eligibility criteria. This is the eligibility criteria that we have, and these are our priorities. But it is flexible, and that's usually what happens. So if the 5 council members want to adopt this policy or some kind of inflexible policy for rotation, that can happen. So long as you all are mindful of the fact that after it's implemented 1 or perhaps 2 times, it may change. So it's really, the policies for selection of mayor and vice mayor is really not for the future. It really is for the council that is making the selection, because it can be changed at any point, at any time, by a majority of council members. So, I just say that so that I know I can, this is always a very difficult decision. And, I have been in council meetings where this discussion has taken 3 hours without a resolution. And so, if that happens, then I think, perhaps the complexity of the policy is becoming a hurdle for all the reasons that you all have mentioned. So, at some point, I think the council should consider whether or not this type of inflexible policy, which may work, if you look at the rotation, it may work for this council. So maybe you want to implement it because it will be easy. And why not try it? But the reality is, if it is too complicated, with a lot of variables, the likelihood of the policy remaining that way in the future, given the variables that could come up that we can't even, imagine right now, the policy will likely be changed. So I think to look at it, to make this an easier decision for the five of you, don't look at it in terms of this is permanent. This is how it's going to be forever. This is how it's going to be for 25 and most likely 26. Right? So that's how it might be easier to get through this policy that was presented by the ad hoc if you look at it in that context.
I think that's super helpful. Oh, Greg's got his hand up. Go ahead.
Greg, please go ahead.
I was just wondering if the ad hoc committee considered how we could amend the current policy as an alternative to make it better, fairer, and attend to the principles that were so clearly attended to in both versions that they were trying to do.
We did not. It's a very good idea, however.
Our main concern was to avoid the confrontation that we had in January, February, March. We didn't want to go through that. And the whole key here is like, let's not be that rigid. I mean, why? I mean, to me, I'm not even interested in doing other thing than being a council member. I'm okay with that. So, and when we write in this policy, I wasn't doing it because it was good for me. I'm out. I mean, I'm not doing it because of me. I'm thinking of the people who are coming next. If we can make it easy and then having the council to be more collaborative. So we don't have to have those anger moments when we wanted to be selected, that they didn't select you and stuff like that. So I don't want to see that again.
And I think for me, it was just very important that there's understanding about what happens when certain things happen. So, it was personal for me. It was personal for me. So if I defer and I know I'm going to the end of the line, then I'm going to defer making that decision knowing that. And that wasn't the case for me. And so I think that's something that needs to be very clear within our policy.
Yeah. Right.
So things like that we're all very clear about is going to help us make our decisions moving forward. So, yeah.
But I feel like this is a brand new policy. We can live in, like, whatever happened before, we had to let it be because we're doing a new policy, and why not to just do something that it has nothing to do with what happened before with other people?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And if I may add, Mayor, in defense of the ad hoc committee's work, I do want to remind the council that the clear direction from the council was to look at a rotational policy. And a lot of comment from the public was received about each district having the opportunity to be vice mayor and mayor. And so that was, because of that direction from the council, the ad hoc committee, that sort of framed really what was looked at. Council's at a point now where you can decide whatever you want. Ad hoc committee looked at that, it's too complex, doesn't work, let's go a different direction, or what have you. But I just wanted to.
And maybe we can, to City Attorney Kenyon's point, like, let's think about the decision we have to make this December, right, as how we rotate, right? So, I mean, we should talk about the mayoral selection that you guys have written out. But for the vice mayor, obviously, it is between Greg and Myra, right? Mm-hmm. You two aren't eligible, and I think that's fair, right? You're not in your last year.
Right.
I think that's a good statement, right? So you have someone who's going to carry that forward. And so what is a fair way that, I mean, you might come to the point where one or either of you says, I'm not ready, I don't need to do this, I'll let you do. But if you're both ready and you want to be considered, do you want a discussion, or do you want to draw names out of a hat? So that you don't have to have the discussion. I mean, you're both qualified, you're both elected. We'd hope but each of you do as good a job as you can. So what do we want to happen in December? And then the other kink, just, again, we're assuming the mayor transition happens and then I'll do that. If something happens in my life and all of a sudden I can't, right? Well, none of you have been vice mayor and only those two have, like that might be a kink.
Yeah.
Right? But again, that could be where we go to, here we're in our uncharted territory and we can decide, right? I mean.
But then you would need a supermajority vote to do that, which would make it even more complicated.
Well, this is why I'm saying, why are we putting this policy if we need a supermajority? It doesn't make sense. And the whole thing is that when it comes to, I was trying to make it flexible because being on this position is not easy. Like, I am giving a lot of things that I can do to do this. And why do we have to make it difficult? I don't understand. Why can we make it so nice that we serve and we're happy to serve? It doesn't have to be that difficult. And who makes everything difficult? Ourselves. Why don't we make it easy for everybody serving as a council member? It could be and this is one of the things. If we take all of this problem out, we can be a better council. And we can have a better life.
I wish we could legislate that. I'm afraid we can't.
I guess so.
I hate to be
but you know what?
negative in that way.
I'm open to just whatever you guys decide, I'm okay. And there is a possibility to make changes later, so it's okay.
Greg also has his hand up.
Oh,
Well,
I thought that was the old one.
That was the old one.
All right, what are we going to do, council members?
But you're, either the district rotation or the public drawing were the two options, so maybe.
It works better.
I'm just saying maybe a public drawing is a good option if there are more than one people that want to serve.
Who really wants to be like me, I'm fine. Greg and I are the next one, so I feel like.
I'm having a hard time hearing again, Myra.
Oh, I'm saying, in my case, like, at the end of the term, like in November or so, or at the end of December, beginning December, we can go say, Sarah, I'm interested. And then Sarah will say, oh, Greg is interested too. Then we have two. And then that way we can choose out of randomly who can run for or be eligible for. But we have the voting, that's my problem here. So if we're going to vote, what is going to happen if they don't like who is on the rotation? If council majority doesn't like who is on the rotation, what are we going to do?
But I think even if a draw of a hat, there still has to be a motion and a vote.
Right.
Because that's how it works.
But it could be if you're going to take precedent of what is already there. If this person is the next, it's like if the vice mayor is the next to be a mayor, it's obvious that we all going to vote for the mayor but, nobody's going to be forced to vote. That's why maybe making a minority vote will be, maybe one more vote and your vote for two. I don't know. Do we have to have the council majority? We can do it less.
Yes, we need, in order for the mayor to be selected by law, it has to be selected by a majority of the council.
And why
as well as the vice mayor.
And why do we have this rotation then?
But you could still do that, and then you're only advancing one candidate for that vote, right? You've gone through the rotation or the drawing, and then you're putting forth one person's name, but then you still have to vote legally.
Okay.
Is what I'm hearing.
Yes.
So let me play this out one other way. Let's suppose that we go through all these criteria and the names are put up for a vote. And what happens if that person doesn't get the vote?
then the community is very mad.
Yes.
Well, that's happened
We
before.
have experienced it, yes.
And on any given day, on any given issue,
Yeah,
that does come up.
yeah.
Yeah.
Why don't we just go home? Because this is not going to go anywhere.
I can see why the city attorney says there can be 3-hour discussions and no decision made.
Yeah, because it was really difficult. And I knew coming in that.
You know what? Having, it's legal to have the council to vote, but that's the problem, right there.
But
Okay.
that's the law. That's the way that
It doesn't
works.
have to be a problem if we're all following process and
Yes,
trusting each other.
but-
Right.
Right.
That's
The
right.
problem is when
And that we're aware
when
of
it
the
doesn't
process.
happen that way.
And that's the
hopefully-
process. The process will be the next person is the one that I mean, why? Why not?
Here's the thought. Maybe we need to establish, going back to what you said before, things like deferral. There is no policy, there's no statement in our council rules about deferring.
Right.
What would be the reason? What would be the process? And what would be the consequence of that decision? The individual is nominated. This happened. And they deferred. Then a different individual was nominated and was voted in. The person who deferred, because there was no clear statement of what that meant, the assumption was it means next time around it's my turn. But that is not the way the council understood it.
But that's the reason why we put it in this policy.
But it's not in this policy. The question is,
No,
you're
I-
asking, do you want it to be this way or that way? So I think it's important for us to establish that.
Yeah, it is in here.
It
The
is
question
in there.
But is it, do you go to the top or do you go to the
Well,
bottom?
that's-
You stated what you thought.
I do, I think it should.
We haven't had a discussion about it.
Right.
So that's what I'm saying. We need to maybe take that one piece.
Oh, and you're
put-
saying if there's a reason why for the deferral, that's going to make a difference whether you go to the front or the back?
I'm just saying that
Yeah.
we make it establish and put it
Using-
into the rules.
Yeah.
What it means.
Using
Yeah, very-
pregnancy as an example would be a good reason to stay at the top.
I mean,
I don't
medical-
think it should be a reason. I mean, I feel like this is why I do want it to, it makes people, this is why we don't have that many eligible people who want to run for city council. Make it easy. You never know what the problem is. I have a mental issue, I can't sleep at night, whatever. You don't have to come up with a big, letter telling the other council member why you cannot do it. You just have to say, I want to defer for next year. And that's it.
And then what? So let's talk about the then what.
Then what? Because,
No, but then what happens to that?
well,
They
it's
go
the
to the
same
top or the
thing
bottom?
because my place is going to take, the next person is going to take my place. It's not going to change anybody. Because if there are 3 people behind, like me, and 2 more people, if this person takes my place, it's the same thing for the 3rd person. Because he's going to be in the 3rd place. Same. It's not going to change anything. He's going to stay in the same place. We're just switching with the first one and the second.
If I can just jump in, if you're going to talk about what happens with a deferral, you should first, before that, talk about whether the policy is going to be rotational or not. Because if it's not rotational, then going to the top or the bottom doesn't apply.
Right?
So what was talked about a little bit earlier was establishing eligibility criteria,
That's where we need to start.
city clerk gauging interest of those that are eligible, and then perhaps a drawing of those that are eligible. Someone who's deferring wouldn't submit their interest. for that year.
Or in that
But they-
moment? I mean,
but-
I'm hearing two different things. I've heard
It could
the idea that people need to step forward and go to the city clerk and then indicate their interest prior to the meeting.
Yes, that's how I,
Or
Exactly.
what if the city clerk just comes to the meeting with that information and puts it on the table? I mean, do you see what I'm saying? Do we need to write a whole page of rules about by when they need to let the city clerk know? And, you know, I mean, think about this
Well,
year.
yeah, I think-
Right now, it's October 13th. The decision for this coming year is going to be made on December 9th-ish, something like that.
TBD, yeah.
How far back, if you count backwards, would the person be needing to meet with the city clerk to indicate their interest if that were going to be the policy this year? Like next week?
I don't think there's any real urgent timeline on that, right? It would just,
It would have to
Have to-
go for preparation. It wouldn't be in the agenda? It wouldn't be published in the agenda?
I mean, and that would just be a week before the meeting, right? Or whatever, we could
so a
apply
week
the same
before the
rule,
meeting.
10 days or something before the meeting, to know that someone's eligible and they're interested, and there's going to be a drawing, or whatever, you know, whatever the decision is, process between those that are eligible and interested. The point that I was making is that the discussion about top of the list or bottom of the list only applies if you're doing a rotational process. So if you are against the rotational process,
We didn't
Then
have a
you don't necessarily
rotational process last year, and it was a problem. So I don't understand how you believe it won't be it's not an issue.
But in the community's mind, there was a rotation, right? And before, we based it on votes, right, when we were at large.
I would just say prior, you know, assuming a policy gets adopted, there really wasn't a clear policy on selection criteria or eligibility.
Right.
So I think that alone is solving a lot of the confusion. Like all of the confusions that you've raised here today about the process in the past or potential problems in the future, a lot of them would be solved by everybody knowing
Yeah.
what does the council expect in terms of selection. That is really, you know, and I'm not saying a policy isn't needed, it is needed, but that is really what the policy has to include, is the eligibility criteria and potential priorities. But at the end of the day, it does provide for some flexibility because of all these other things that could happen at the end of the day. So, you know, what you're talking about right now will solve a lot of the issues that occurred last December.
So can we go through the eligibility criteria? Because I think that's easier, right?
Okay.
One is, like, for vice mayor, you wrote a year, maybe it needs to be 11 months because the vote is happening before someone served a whole year, but, so,
Let's do it.
and I was curious why, for the mayor, you also had a year as opposed to, but then it also said, having served 1 year as the vice mayor.
Where do you see that?
Oh, I'd have to go find it, but anyway, let's just ask the question. Do you need to have served for 2 years?
Well, let's
And be vice mayor.
just talk about, let's talk about vice mayor.
Okay.
Because if there can be an assumption that the vice mayor is going to become the mayor, really what we're talking about is vice mayor.
Right, okay. So,
Okay.
I agree with Christine on the 11-month criteria.
Great, me too.
So on packet page 54, where it says B, eligibility criteria for vice mayor, a council will be eligible to serve as vice mayor if they meet the following criteria. Served at least 11 months.
Right.
Change that to 11 months
Yeah.
on the city council, the City of Pacifica City Council. and a council member will be ineligible to serve as vice mayor if they meet the following criteria: serving in the final year of their second full term.
It doesn't have to be second, right?
That's what it says. I'm
I know,
reading what
but-
it says on the page.
But it doesn't have to be, because what if they're not running for a second term, right?
Mm-hmm. So, serving in the final year
Of their term.
second
But they might
full
not decide if they're running again until. a
Well,
few months
that
before.
would rob us of the benefit of experience.
I agree.
Yeah.
So maybe the in the last 2 years, so there's no need for that person to be a vice mayor then. They're not going to be able to serve as a mayor. But there is no chance anyways, because there's 3 people coming, so, yeah.
Or two.
Or two.
Or 2, so there is no need to. But maybe we can say 2 years before their last term.
I mean,
or
even if
terminated.
someone's running, you don't know that they're going to be reelected, like,
Yeah.
you know, Krister can.
Right.
City. I don't think the last year of your first
Should
term
apply.
should be a limiting
Okay.
thing.
So
I
you don't
agree with
wish
this.
to
I
cross that
agree
out?
with I agree with what's written. The final year of your second term.
Okay.
Shouldn't qualify you.
Cool.
Or. Okay, or, we need to have a discussion about what that means exactly. Served as mayor or vice mayor in the past 3 years.
The past 3 years.
I don't like it.
Yeah, that one is,
I don't like that either, because
Yeah.
there's a whole bunch of things that could happen in that period of time.
you know,
And you might need them if other people step down or.
That's where we had to think of all the million
things
variables.
that happen, yes.
Yeah.
That's what made it so frustrating.
Yeah.
Because you never know when, remember, it could be a chance that people who already been a mayor might have to serve as a mayor because we don't have another eligible person.
Yeah, you could have 3 brand-new electeds.
Right.
Is there some way that we could write it instead of, again, the deference is to allow someone who's serving as my vice mayor the first time as opposed to someone who's had that seat before. Like preference is given to council members who have not served previously in that role.
It will be a time when, someone who already served will need to serve.
Well, that's why I'm saying preference, not blocking it
Right.
completely.
No, that's the preference.
I would not be in favor
So this is
of that.
ineligible. Let's talk about eligibility.
Yeah.
How about interested?
Interested. Yeah,
What if they're not interested?
right.
See? There you
Should Sarah say they're eligible?
go.
Eligible.
So that goes to the point of either going to Sarah in advance and saying, I'm interested, or if they're eligible based on they're not in the final year of their second term, right? But they have served in the past, and Sarah says they're eligible, they could say, I'm not interested, thank you,
Right.
and pull their name out at that moment.
And is it council's wish to have those that are interested named in the staff report for the item versus city clerk presents those that are eligible based on the qualifying criteria? And then the statements of those that are interested be made on the dais at the meeting?
I prefer the latter.
Me too.
And I would actually, Sarah, prefer if you were to reach out to all eligible people to ascertain their wishes, as opposed to, just to avoid the possibility of somebody not remembering that they needed to talk to you about wanting to be mayor. And then showing up and not having that opportunity.
So that would be the preference for the clerk to reach out to those eligible prior to the agenda going out with that information.
Prior to whenever you're going to disclose it. I prefer that
Yeah.
that information be released on the dais.
Oh,
So
on
that
the
there won't be
dais.
so that there won't be campaigning going on in between.
That's
You,
true.
you can imagine what would ensue.
Yeah. Okay, good idea. Okay, I like that. What do you think about that, Myra?
I think it's a good idea.
Okay.
Christine?
Yeah. Okay, look at that. Look at what we're doing.
Page 2 of 7.
207.
Let's move to page 3.
So I did want to ask, Greg, so you didn't want a preference for people who had not served before? And
I can see that being potentially a problem. It diminishes people's second term. It diminishes any kind of rotational criteria that you may or may not want to put in.
Point of, what is it?
I'm not sure.
Point of personal something?
Okay.
That's why I'm against it. I want the city to be able to benefit from people's experience.
I understand that, but I think that could block the whole sharing of the responsibility, right? I mean, if you're always going to look at experience, then sure, anybody who's served before has more experience, but that,
But that, I don't think that should be the criteria either. I just don't think it should count against them. Like Christine, I think it totally makes sense for you to be mayor next time. You're the most experienced, you do the most homework. There's a ton associated with why it totally makes sense for you to be mayor.
yeah.
But then the question becomes in your second term, because of the way it's working, it looks like you would have the opportunity to be mayor a second time. Would the city of Pacifica be better off benefiting from that experience and that huge amount of homework you always do, as opposed to somebody who's been on council for a short time, who doesn't have the same relationships?
But you could have made that argument with Mary and not given me a chance last year too, right? So, I mean, I don't know. For me, I'd rather everyone have a chance to do it.
Yeah, we cannot go by experience, otherwise, yeah.
No, I'm not saying that we go by experience. I'm saying we don't disqualify someone because of their experience.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
But then say we have 2 or 3 names in a hat and one is newer and one is not, then how is that decision made? Is that,
well, it's,
are we deliberating then again?
Names in a hat are a different issue.
it's
It's
only,
names in a hat.
the names in the hat, it's gonna be just the people who are next time after Greg and I, if we
I thought we weren't talking about that yet. We were just strictly talking criteria.
right, but it's only gonna be the elected official who has not served. The name is gonna be in the hat, only those people, not everybody else.
But what we just said on page 2 of 7 is serving in the final year of their second term.
Well, this one may not work, I mean, because you never know.
That's for vice mayor, right?
Not allowing.
For the vice mayor.
That's for vice mayor.
That makes sense.
Yeah. We're only talking about vice
Yeah, we're only talking about vice mayor.
mayor. Okay. What's next?
Oh, the question here?
The next question on page 3, packet page 55, at the top of page 3 of 7 on this draft policy says, review and advise which method or which portions of each method should be incorporated, district rotation or public drawing based on eligibility criteria for vice mayor. District rotation as presented is a series of an order by year of which district will be vice mayor and by extension, which district will be mayor, because it's the previous year vice mayor.
I think we cannot do it by district. It doesn't work. It doesn't, at the end of the day, it's going to throw something out. So I think we had to do it by elected official, like section like 2 and 3. Yes, like the two elected go first. And then next time, the 3 elected are the one. It's kind of.
I'm sorry, I'm losing you.
I don't understand.
Well,
You're saying the 2 elected, do you mean the most recently
the
elected?
most recent elected are going to go
Like 4 and 1.
after the other ones.
We weren't doing it.
Exactly.
The district rotation might work. We can leave it alone until it doesn't work, then we change. What can you do?
Well, I think that if we make it a suggestion and not a rule,
Right.
then you could say district rotation would be a suggestion.
Yeah, if district election doesn't comply with all of the rules, then we move forward to drawing.
Or, I guess this is where, like, I think the preference versus an exclusion, I mean, let's just say, you two, you and Myra, right, are eligible next year, and then, whatever, we have, the following year, we have 2 or 3 new council members. I would want you and Myra to have preference, right, for, I mean, a new council member would have to wait a year, but say in the second year, I would still want one of you to have the preference because you've been there longer for that seat versus.
So that's
someone new.
going to Greg's point a minute ago about not letting experience disqualify you.
Well,
It's
that
not
was experience
disqualifying.
for, he was talking about experience for someone having served before. I'm talking about experience in terms of number of years on the council, not necessarily having.
No, but Christine, it's gonna, this is what we're talking about. We're talking like, okay, the next in line will be District 2 for mayor, District 4 for vice mayor, and then District 1, and we move on. And then District 3, 5, and 2 again.
But that's the point I was making. I wouldn't be eligible my 4th year in District 2, and then a new person elected would have to wait another 4 years, right? So it starts to break down.
Yeah, it does at the end of your term. It's changed.
So that's where I think this is going to break down, and I'm not sure that's the best.
And
Do it then.
that's why I think just more addressing the old system and what broke with that by perhaps that prior to any vote being taken, we ask if there are any additional nominations for consideration.
Right.
Might be the simplest solution of all.
I appreciate
That's
that.
the problem. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, and that's what the way I think. that-
I'm having a hard time hearing again.
Yeah, I understand that we gonna go like, next coming, in December will be either District 4 or District 1 is gonna be the vice mayor. So, and then in the following year will be same, District 1 or District 4. Then the following people who's gonna come in 2026, then they're gonna be the next in line waiting to become a mayor, vice mayor.
Yes.
Right.
And then you gauge interest. And then you gauge interest.
But if there's a way that we set up like a preference, I mean, that's what Redwood City has done. So you
Yeah.
start like just every year you update your list, right? So of who has the priority preference that then, can be decided between. And if there's not someone stepping forward and someone stepping back, then, I think drawing straws or the public drawing could be a way to go about that, so we don't have to
I think so.
argue about it.
Right. The drawing is to avoid choosing either or of the 2 qualified or 3 qualified council members.
But what if there is interest and one of the people isn't really qualified?
It doesn't matter. Because the criteria is like being on council for 1 year or so. If the 3 of them has been on council for 3 years, for 1 year, then the 3 of them are eligible. And that's why we had to make a decision here. And we don't want to make the decision on our own, because people are going to feel like, why didn't they choose me? So that's the whole, I don't know. And that's the whole idea of drawing. If Super Bowl does it, why can we not do it?
I don't know. Sue, I think you're going to have to try to lead us through this.
Right, otherwise we're going to spend the whole night here.
All right. Let's turn to the next page. Let's leave that aside, because we're not coming to an
Did
agreement.
we make a decision here?
Nope,
Are we going
we
to
didn't.
okay or not?
I just want to go through and see what the other issues are, because this one is one we're not deciding on.
Okay.
We're spinning our wheels. So what are the other issues that we need to decide on? Deferral, that was one of the issues.
Can there be 2 types of deferral? A defer to the end of the line and a defer in the event of, say, pregnancy to the next opportunity?
Well, you don't have to specify what issue it is, just whatever issue. Because specifying pregnancy, why? Why do we have to specify?
You don't. Just 2 different kinds of deferral. Defer to the next opportunity or to the end of the line. But the deferrer makes that choice.
There's deferring and declining, so that's your choice. I think if you're declining, then you're going to the end of the line.
Okay, that makes sense.
And deferring your next, and you keep your place in line.
Right,
Just life's circumstances mean that you can't do it right then.
Okay.
I like that. Well put.
Okay. Do you have that, what you need from us on that, City Clerk?
Yes, deferral goes first in line, declining goes to the end.
So there's a line.
Yeah, exactly. Which would be the first.
Well, we
little
haven't
bit
determined that
frustrating.
yet.
We need.
Which would be,
Mary, we have to go for a cup of coffee after this.
oh gosh, I'd stay up all night if I drank coffee right now. All right.
Eligibility for mayor, do we need to discuss this?
No,
Okay.
Okay.
because the vice mayor will be the mayor.
So, but I do want to, if, I don't know, something happens, my husband dies, right?
Hey,
I'm going to throw out something that's just no, God forbid, no, it's not going to happen. But whatever, something happens in my life and I suddenly decide I can't, right? Then what's the process? Because we don't have an eligible vice mayor.
we're going to use another person.
We're going to vote.
Yes, and we're going to
You
choose
mean
from.
someone's going to nominate someone, and then there will need to be a second for that nomination, and then we would have discussion and vote?
Yeah.
No, then we would call for, are there any other nominations?
But see, this case is perfect because none of us are eligible to become a mayor. So any of you can be a mayor.
So then there's going to have to be a vote, a nomination and a vote.
That's something we're trying, every which way from Sunday, to avoid putting. We're trying to avoid that. We're seeking
I'm okay with voting, just to be.
to avoid that.
So this is just where we would go to our extenuating circumstances and decide on a different policy.
And I'm so curious of what our community would have to say about that. They were very vocal before, so it would be interesting to hear what their opinion would be.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll hear.
Great.
Well,
Yep.
actually, that's something that I want to make sure is in here, that, because that didn't happen the last time, is making sure that there's a public comment period before the vote.
Oh, yeah.
Right. That's not in here.
Right.
Well, but it should be.
Yes,
Yeah.
it should be stated in the writing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, what else?
Oh, this is what we have here, like vacancy partial terms. That's what we have here. That's part of it. Sarah, you put that in there for sure. That's a good thing.
Well, some of that is if somebody resigns partway through or whatever. I think that's good to have.
I can't imagine what you two went through trying to figure this out.
Oh,
I know.
And I was asking for more time because I wanted to go back to it.
It's
Okay.
going to be perfect, though.
So on page 4, packet page 56, exceptions to timeline, the city council may occasionally select a new mayor or vice mayor outside of the annual process as a result of vacancies or city council discretion. Anyone have a problem with that? No. The next issue is declining nominations. I think we've already covered that. If the vice mayor declines the nomination for mayor,
now that's different.
oh, you're right. If the vice mayor declines the nomination for mayor, the city council will review the eligibility for vice mayor, nominate a mayor from the council. Isn't that what we just said a minute ago, though?
That was for vice.
Oh, but we're on mayor.
No,
Well, this
the-
says vice, oh, yeah, okay.
If the vice mayor declines the nomination,
Then we vote.
then we vote.
The council will review, okay, let's go vice mayor, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And if, in this case, if we don't have anyone who is eligible because they're new, we have to pick from the, whatever council is eligible or have the experience.
Yeah, it may be someone who's just served within a year or two, and that's why it's good not to have that.
The
3 or
3 year,
4
4
year.
years.
But it may also be that you choose someone who hasn't been vice mayor, right, if you don't have another choice. And, I mean, that happens sometimes, too.
So to Greg's point, then we vote means it's an unusual circumstance that we don't write into the policy because we just deal with the circumstances on the ground at that moment. Is that your point, Greg?
Yes.
Okay.
And just to add, you know, I think the council needs to understand that you will not consider all the potential variables.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, spending time trying to think of all the variables, you know, it's
We did it for
fruitless.
3 months,
Yes.
Mhm.
It's,
maybe 4.
Okay, so how many pages left?
I'm not sure. And what's the difference between those two choices?
Which two choices are you talking about?
Decline, okay, it's a vice
At the
mayor
top of page
decline. I think they're
57.
the same, isn't it? Yeah, it's repeated.
No, one's the eligibility for mayor and one is the eligibility for vice mayor.
Vice mayor, oh, yeah, true.
It's just asking which set of eligibility criteria would take precedence in that situation. Because ordinarily, you would have the vice mayor become mayor. So if the vice mayor declines to become mayor,
Then,
now you're in this how to choose who's eligible to be mayor in this situation. Do you look at the vice mayor eligibility, or do you look at the mayor eligibility minus that the person served as vice mayor in the preceding year?
I think it's just vice mayor eligibility.
I couldn't quite hear you, Mary.
I think it's vice mayor eligibility.
yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think.
And then there'd be a vote.
Okay. How does that sit with you, Greg?
I can live with it.
Okay. Christine?
Yeah,
All right. I think we covered the declining nominations. That means you go to the back of the line, bottom of the cycle, right? Deferring means you postpone for a year.
But I do think we need to say something about you can't defer 2 years in a row.
Yeah,
Oh, good point. I hadn't
Yeah,
thought of
I
that.
agree.
I like that too.
I agree.
Because then you're blocking someone else's.
Yeah.
1 year, that's,
Yeah.
you just say 1 year, that's it.
1 year maximum or whatever. However you think it's best to word that.
Cannot defer 2 years in a row. Okay, we're getting somewhere now.
And deferrals for the vice mayor may or may not be rescinded. What did Sarah call? The no take backs.
No
rule?
take backs.
The no
Yeah.
take backs rule.
I like the no take backs.
Okay, exceptional scenarios. I thought every single thing we've discussed tonight was an exceptional scenario. Okay,
Wait,
multiple eligible council members.
that would be like the two, our districts coming in.
Okay, this is the thing we were talking about that I said, no, we're not going to talk about that. We're just going to turn the
Oh,
page. Now we're back to it. All right,
You vote.
You vote.
multiple new council members eligible to serve vice mayor.
I like the second one.
The city council holds a public drawing. I think we make a nomination. I'm not a big fan of the public drawing, even though it is used in the Super Bowl. I just feel like we have to have a statement of who's eligible and then a nomination.
Yeah, I think this was covered in the discussion where it sounded like the consensus was city clerk would provide the names of those eligible, if multiple eligible, and would let those people know before the agenda is published that they're eligible. And then their interest would be expressed on the dais.
Right.
But the question is it then discussed and decided on the dais? So we are talking about comparing two candidates, or are we having a drawing so that it is a blind process that
That is the question.
Right.
Deliberate and vote is my opinion.
I don't agree with that because I feel like we're going to be choosing between 2 eligible or 3 eligible people. I think we should just randomly pick one name. That way nobody feels like left out. That's my suggestion. And believe me, I can live with either or, but
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes.
Please.
It's tying this back to the declining or deferral, sort of what I mentioned earlier. If someone had deferred or declined, but then the next year you're establishing who's eligible, how does that play out? Is the person who declined or deferred eligible?
well, that's where we said we'd move them to the bottom of the list, but that's
The
we have to have a
decline
list.
doesn't.
The declined is not eligible.
probably not going to be
Next
eligible.
Deferral is.
But when does the declined person come back up the list?
At the end, it's never going to
Go to
happen.
the end of the line.
Probably.
But that's what I mean, like, is there a line? Because we haven't really said that.
Right, if you don't have like a rotation policy, then are you just looking at the eligibility again, regardless of whether they declined in the year before? Defer, I think, going to the top of the list implies that the priority is given to the person who deferred above, making nominations or.
So you wouldn't accept other nominations, you'd automatically give it to the person who deferred.
Okay.
And the person who declined might not, maybe we need to clarify this, isn't eligible the following year, but might be eligible the year after that.
Well, I think that's the question, is the person who's declined, if for all other purpose, if they're still eligible, does their name go in the hat? Or do you not put their name in that, if you're doing a drawing situation? Or does your name go into consideration, I should say, whether it be drawing or nominations?
I think a declination should be a minimum no for 2 years.
And by 2 years, so if you decline, then the following year, you're not
eligible.
But the year after that, you would be eligible? Or are you saying
Maybe he's not going to be.
you're not eligible for 2 years following the decline?
If you declined in a given year,
That's a year,
you're not eligible the following year.
right? So that's 2 years, yeah.
So it's the same thing Greg said.
Well, yeah, I thought he said you're not eligible for 2 years, so.
It is 2 years.
So you're not eligible for the following year, would be the clearest language.
No take back, and then the following year.
Is that accurate, Greg? Is that what you meant? When you said 2 years, that sounds like it's a penalty.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is it just, I want to distinguish by a period of 1 year between a deferral and a declination.
So if you declined, you are eligible the following year. If you.
No, if you defer, you're
If you
eligible.
deferred, you're eligible the following year. If you declined, you're not eligible the following.
And then if there's other people that are eligible, then there needs to be a vote between the other people. So, I mean, how else can we do it? I don't know how the,
I think we're placing too high a priority on avoiding voting.
I agree.
I think that's part of the job. And sometimes we got to bite the bullet and do it.
yeah. As long as we're all clear about everything else. If we're all clear, then the public will be clear, right?
And I will add that you will see that just creating this criteria will make a difference. It really does.
Yeah.
We've never had that before. That added to part of the confusion last year.
Yes.
And so now people understand what the intent is with this policy, whether it's in the policy or not. So, you know, I just want you to know you're not going to be able to fix everything. No policy is perfect. And, you know, you are just trying to do the best that you can, trying to collaborate with your fellow council members.
And at least it's letting everyone who's eligible put their name in if they choose to have it in and have it discussed, and the public can comment if they think someone is, you know, better qualified than another, or, I mean, it is still creating some potential bad feelings.
And the only reason
but,
that
I mean,
vote would happen in this instance is because of a declination, right? Because that person has declined. So now you have, that person is out for 2 years. So in the, you know, not the following year, but in the second year, they may, you know, this issue may come up.
Yeah. But it doesn't just apply to declination. It could apply, I mean, this is just bringing this discussion back to the original discussion that we deferred, because they're all really the same.
Oh, yeah,
Right?
you're right. You're
like
right.
if Myra and
I
Greg
see what you're
both wanted it next time, we would have to talk about who is the better candidate, who wants to do it first, and.
Yeah.
Okay.
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 Okay, great.
Do we need to discuss consecutive years as mayor or vice mayor on packet page 58?
So I think this is the situation where vice mayor declines or defers the nomination for mayor. Are they eligible to continue to serve as vice mayor? And is that the preference?
Oh, okay.
If they want to continue to serve as vice mayor, do you not go through the selection process for vice mayor because the vice mayor wants to continue in that role? And that would imply then the vice mayor would then move into the mayor position a year later.
That would be a defer. That'd be defer. So if they defer.
I think if,
But
I think
you,
if they defer, they should not be vice mayor again. So we have somebody else who has that experience, right?
But
And-
then they're not deferring, because what they're deferring is their right to be mayor the following year.
Right.
Well, I'm just
They're
saying they're not
declining.
necessarily giving that up, but they're just not necessarily, they're not allowed to be vice mayor 2 years in a row. They will have
Okay.
served 1 year as vice mayor, so they would be eligible to be mayor.
right, because the requirement is you have
Oh,
to have
right.
served as vice mayor for at least 11 months.
Okay.
It can be, I
But
just
then
got
aren't you
done.
just postponing a problem for
Yes,
the following year?
and guess what? We'll have to vote.
Well,
We had to go?
We would, because there would be,
So wouldn't it be simpler to say there is no deferring as vice mayor to be mayor?
well, I'm thinking about Christine's, if you have a dire reason, you have a health reason, you have a family, death,
Yeah,
something
valid,
like
valid.
that.
or a baby, or.
Yeah, I mean, something positive, not necessarily a tragedy, but there could be a real reason why you just say, I can't. I'm interested, I'd love to, but I can't.
We're doing a great job.
Thank you, Mary. Mary's like, we're making progress, we're turning
We really
the
are.
page.
We're giving and taking.
Making great progress. Clarification on this point
Yes.
is that, is there, and maybe I missed it, is there the presumption that the vice mayor is going to become mayor?
Yes.
Then
believe
a
there is.
vice mayor
don't
that
want to-
defers is a problematic piece of a policy. If you were to, those are like mutually exclusive. Because a vice mayor that defers, someone else will become vice mayor that year. And the presumption is that someone else that became vice mayor that year will be mayor the following year.
Well, if the mayor defer and we don't have a vice mayor, so then I think we had to get somebody to be a mayor without being a vice mayor.
He's talking about the following year problem, because you have 2 people eligible, and then that problem keeps going, right, if you,
Right.
if you're getting new.
So I heard it said, I don't remember who, but that if you're vice mayor and you defer to become mayor, then, you're not eligible the next year to become mayor. That's a
Oh, if you
special
defer, you
circumstance.
Yeah.
do. Isn't that?
That is a special circumstance.
Well,
Let me ask you this, if you're vice mayor, is there even a vote to make you mayor?
There has to be, Michelle said we have to have a
We have to-
majority vote of the council.
we will follow the rules of the rotation, luckily.
Well, right, because we'll have an understanding that the vice mayor is going to be the mayor, unless there's a special circumstance.
Right? I mean, there still would need to be a motion, Greg, and a second,
And a vote.
right?
Yes.
In that case, city clerk, you would say, when you introduce the item, coming up for this coming year, Christine Bowles has been serving as vice mayor this year. She is eligible to be mayor. That's it, right?
Right.
I mean, technically, anyone else who has served as vice mayor for at least 11 months, isn't that what we just said a minute ago? Would also be eligible, because the criteria is served as vice mayor for 11 months.
Or mayor.
No, if you've served as mayor, you're not eligible to be mayor the next year.
Not the next year, but in the past, you may have served as mayor. But I guess you would add to be vice mayor,
To get to be mayor.
Yes. You would.
maybe.
I think we
Maybe,
focused on
maybe.
vice.
You would.
So technically, eligibility-wise, anybody who'd served as vice mayor for 11 months would be eligible.
Not necessarily. It depends.
If Christine decided To
Not-
defer, is that what we're talking about?
And we had to
So,
pick.
so is it not the case that the assumption is that the vice mayor becomes mayor?
That is the assumption.
That is the assumption.
So.
And Greg
so
was
the
saying, do we even have to have a vote? And I
So the
said, yes, we do,
criteria-
because the city attorney said we do.
So the criteria for mayor is, or I guess the criteria for the mayor, you're saying, is served as vice mayor for 11 months. The preference is
The
served
currently,
as the current vice mayor.
with the preference
Becomes
for the
mayor.
person currently serving as vice mayor.
And I think what we're asking is in the case that the vice mayor
Decline.
defers.
Or declines.
Well, if they decline, then they're
out.
They're out the following year.
Oh, I see.
Right? If they defer, then are they the presumed priority the following year for mayor if there's a different sitting vice mayor?
Well, that's why they kind of need to be vice mayor again, but then that blocks somebody in the rotation.
So that's where this question is, consecutive years as vice mayor.
Right.
If the vice mayor defers, is the preference that that person continues serving another year as vice mayor?
I think another way to look at it is, do you want to allow the vice mayor to defer? Because if you do, then I think, the answer is, if they're deferring, it's with the intent to be the mayor the following year. So, and that can't happen because, normally you don't want, the same person to be the vice mayor 2 years in a row. But it doesn't mean that you can't have in your policy a preference for vice mayors who defer the mayor nomination to be preferred in the next rotation for mayor and vice mayor as the mayor. You can do that, but it creates the same issues that you have with other deferrals.
We had before, yeah.
I think boy.
Or maybe just to be considered, like if you have to defer, like that you might be giving up your choice, your chance,
Yeah.
you might have it, but you might not, right? And then the council can have that discussion about that.
And that needs to be clear, I think, yeah.
Believe it or not, I'm starting to like the old policy better and better and better.
I will say, this policy, even leaving the unknowns in the policy, taking this as an example, will help in that discussion. I've experienced it, right, with councils who have tried to create a policy. It was not perfect, but when they realized it during the next election or, election of the mayor and vice mayor, it went smoother. It just will. So, I keep emphasizing that you're not going to get perfection in this policy. But just by having this deliberation now, you are helping not only your colleagues on the dais, but future council members who may get elected in 2026. So they understand. Maybe they won't watch this deliberation, but something will be in a policy. So it will help.
Why don't we just make it a rule that no bad things can happen to you when you're vice mayor?
And you'll never get your feelings hurt, ever.
So in the case of the vice mayor deferring, is the next question in line, do you wish to remain vice mayor? And if the answer is yes, then the process stops there.
No, I think the next person should be, I think the person who was a vice mayor doesn't have to be a vice mayor again.
Right.
But is it up to the preference of the vice mayor who is deferring to make that decision, or is that council's decision?
Well, I think the way I understood what the council was talking about before your comment was that if they defer as vice mayor, they would not be the vice mayor again, but they would have a preference in the following year, or be up for consideration, however the council wants to do it.
Up for consideration.
It doesn't mean that they're ineligible to be mayor.
I think we're building in a problem.
That's why I'm asking that, because then you have a sitting vice mayor and you have a person who declined.
But the sitting vice mayor will understand that, right? When they're selected vice mayor. So once again, if it's in the policy, people will understand that that's the policy.
Right.
And so if a person is elected as vice mayor, they understand that they may be mayor, but they may not.
Maybe another way to look at this is just to take it out, right? And then that would become an extenuating circumstance that would come back before council. I mean, for the most part, people who are accepting the vice mayor know that they're getting to be mayor and they're preparing and training for that.
It would be an extraordinary
So
circumstance.
it would,
Yeah.
right?
I like that idea of having that be an exceptional circumstance that
Yeah.
pulls it out of the normal realm,
Right.
and then we need to.
Okay,
I like that too.
exceptional circumstance.
Yes.
Are there any other exceptional circumstances that we need to include?
I think there was the question for diverging from the policy, if that requires a supermajority vote. I haven't heard a consensus on that yet, or a majority direction on that.
I'm not in favor of it.
You just want a majority, 3 out of 5 instead of 4 out of 5?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think 3 is fine. 3.
Really? I thought you were arguing the other way before, of not
Well-
even having an option to,
Yeah, but, if we had to vote, don't we? That's why.
I don't know. I mean, I know it wouldn't solve the problem for Daly City, but, I mean, I think there are often 3-2 councils, and, I mean, these are, I don't know, these are policies that the whole council establishes, and I'd rather it be a larger majority.
I think it needs a supermajority to change that.
Supermajority?
I think it needs a supermajority.
Well, it takes a supermajority to not follow any of the council rules, does it not? If we're council rules, right, doesn't it take a supermajority to defer or to diverge from any to those? I thought it
It's a
did.
supermajority to extend the meeting, so.
I know, I just looked at the clock.
But I think that it's specific to this particular issue, and we don't have anything related to.
So our only other supermajority thing is related to money, when there's a tax-related thing or something like that.
But those are not, there's no statutory law on how you elect or appoint mayor and vice mayor. The only law, so to speak, is what we put in our policies or our protocols. So that's why it's different for every city. There's no guidance. So I didn't think there was a supermajority required for anything related to selection of mayor.
Michelle, I'm having a real hard time.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm not speaking into the mic, my apologies. I'm looking for a supermajority with regard to selecting the mayor, and I don't see one.
It's on page 59.
59, supermajority.
No, she's talking about
I'm talking about our protocol.
our other
policy.
council rules.
The mayor had
Maybe
said
it was in Rosenberg's.
Well, I can think of an instance where that would mean that it would have to pretty much be unanimous except for the one against whom it's being used on. Like, let's suppose that there is somebody that has a very questionable thing, like they've only been charged on a crime. It would need to be unanimous for them not to be put forward in the process, because that person would obviously vote for themselves.
But Greg, I think we should address that before the time of voting or selecting. I mean, if the person is, have committed a crime or something, we're not even going to
Well,
consider.
it wouldn't have been determined yet because they've only been charged. They haven't been adjudicated.
I still think we need a supermajority to go outside the policies.
Okay.
Do you think supermajority?
But
I'm still
Sue, what do you think?
simple majority.
Okay.
I think a simple majority is sufficient. My concern is what I'm hearing from Mary and Christine about 3-2 councils. Can you say more about that?
Well, I mean, I think it's not uncommon, right? And so it's easy for the majority, the 3, to gang up against the 2, and that's what we really don't want. So we're establishing these rules that we think are fair and that we want to be fair. And so it should take all of us agreeing to change those rules. This is about changing the rules.
Well, let's do that then.
So it shouldn't be up to bullying tactics. I mean, I'm not worried about us doing that. I'm worried about future. I mean, I've seen it in past councils, even here in town, right, where you're trying to exclude someone. And I'm not even saying past, 5 years, maybe 20 years from now, but from 20 years ago. But it does happen.
So what do we
Maybe
do?
Michelle can speak to that.
What do we do if the majority doesn't vote for that person?
No, this is about changing the rules. It's
Oh,
not
okay.
about voting for a person. It's about changing the rules.
I think majority.
And to that point, there are 2 variables here that we do want to clarify, because one is supermajority for not following the rules in that year. The other is supermajority regarding the vote of the mayor or vice mayor in not following the rules. There's a subtle nuance there.
Yeah, so subtle, I'm not following
missed
it.
it too.
Although I think we have a rule about making a motion to extend the meeting. I'm looking at the clock.
At 10 o'clock, we determine what's on the agenda and whether it looks likely we're going to finish
By 11.
by 11.
But
Oh,
And then a
that's the rule. We don't
supermajority
vote
vote
on it.
needed to extend beyond 11.
correct.
Okay, so I'm going to stop us for a minute and say it's 9:58. Do we think we're going to finish by 11?
Yes.
I hope so, because Greg is far
Yes.
away and needs to sleep.
He does.
Okay, good. Now we're back at it. Okay, Kevin raised,
So you're coming up on the reorg meeting, and a motion is made that we want to not follow the rules. Does that require supermajority? Okay, now that's different from a motion, and then let's say supermajority says, yes, let's not follow the rules. Then the second part of this is, then do you need a supermajority or just a majority in nominating and selecting the mayor and vice mayor? Or if you're not going to follow the rules, do you also need a supermajority for that mayor and vice mayor? That's the distinction.
Maybe?
So we just need clarification on how that's applying.
I mean, why are we making rules for not going to make you follow the rules?
We're gonna do that.
Maybe it's just too, I don't know what to say about this one.
Well, I think the purpose of the supermajority is to change the rules, not to vote on the person, right? I mean, that's what the supermajority, my understanding is, that requirement is if you want to go beyond for extenuating circumstances, the established policy. Then if the council has decided, yes, we need to, then will the votes after that be just a majority of the council, which is what is required on other issues where a vote needs to be taken, right? So you're never requiring a supermajority vote on the selection of a mayor or a vice mayor. You're only requiring a supermajority vote to divert from the policy. And then once that vote is taken, then you can make another motion that diverts from the policy.
Okay, let me give you an example. What if there's a council member who routinely is not coming to council meetings? They're not showing up. They happen to be the vice mayor. They're not coming. They're absent. Do we need a supermajority vote to change the rules? Because ordinarily, that person
Divert from the rules.
to divert from the rules. The rules, ordinarily, that person would have the expectation of being mayor the following year. But they haven't been to the last 8 council meetings in a row, let's say. Do we need 4 out of 4 of the other council members that are coming
No.
and showing up?
4 out of 5, yes. But if it's,
So then it would have to be a unanimous vote of those that are there.
or it could be supermajority of those present,
Right, which would be 3 if that person
which
isn't.
would only be 3 if that person is not present.
But, I mean, is there another way to handle that by having better eligibility criteria that, I mean, you have to have regular attendance, you have to not have criminal conduct, you know, that's been proven, granted.
And there is a law that says that if you miss, you know, I think it's 3 meetings in the span of 90 days, then, you know, theoretically, you have absented your office. So, you know, that's never used, but I'm saying there is statutory authority for councils to seek, you know, an attorney general opinion on whether or not that particular council member has absented his position.
So the question, so it sounds like there's an interest in supermajority, not, Greg is not supermajority,
Supermajority.
super. There's 3 supers, Greg.
Be super.
I'm a simple majority.
Okay,
Well,
I'm as well. What I want to ask now, since the majority of the council, since we don't have the requirement that it be a supermajority tonight,
right.
that means the majority of the 3 who say supermajority would carry.
How
So,
can that be?
because we don't have a requirement for a supermajority. We only have a requirement for a simple majority.
You're talking about adopting a policy, not voting on people,
So-
selections.
My question is, should we add the caveat, a supermajority of those present to cover my case of, for some rando reason, there's only 4 people there that night? And that would mean, if it says supermajority, it would be the supermajority of the council, it would mean all 4 would have to agree. It would have to be a unanimous vote. But if it's a supermajority of those present, it's 3 out of 4.
That's fine.
I know it's an unlikely experience, but I'm just saying, if we're writing policy, we should probably cover the point. Or we can keep discussing it more.
It's already
Or can we leave this
voted.
part out? Do we have to have this in here?
Well, if we don't, then it's a simple majority, because that's our standard decision.
Oh, got it. Supermajority of those present.
And again, would it help to have more criteria so that those things don't happen? Or anyone who's under disciplinary proceedings or, you know, whatever, that could cover a whole bunch of things.
We will come here even with COVID.
That's a good point,
No,
Myra.
because you can have excused absences, because I did when I had a stroke, so, yeah. You can have excused
So
absences.
that's an excuse, but case point, in case in point, you were not there.
So I wouldn't get a vote.
No, but my point is, you wouldn't be there to vote. There
Right.
were 4 of us.
Then you need 3.
Of those present.
Yeah, that's what I
If we
mean.
put that phrase in there,
Yeah.
yes.
I like that. Put the phrase in.
Well,
What were
it would
you
just- It
discussing?
would just be a majority, not supermajority of the, it's not a supermajority of those present. It's just a majority of those present, if there's only 4 present. Yeah.
Okay. Greg? I can
I'm
see the
still a
wheels.
no because I'm a no to supermajorities, period.
Oh, even in statute?
Love it.
Okay. So supermajority, it sounds to me like that is the decision.
Okay. Next. We done?
I think that's the last thing I see on.
I'm sorry, I just wanted to get clarity. So is it just a majority if only 4 are present?
Correct.
Okay.
All right. Look at that.
Can I clarify one thing, and the clerk may have this, so chime in. So in terms of eligibility criteria, it was removed. It doesn't matter if you've been mayor or vice mayor. There's not a 2 or 3 year, you can't for 2 or 3 years be mayor. That was removed, right?
You're saying we don't have one?
Yeah, I
right.
think my note from that discussion was that we are removing ineligibility based on past experience being mayor or vice mayor. Did I get that correctly?
Yes.
Awesome.
Are there other questions or?
I just had one other question. When we do the transition, who runs the decision and the vote for mayor? Who's the presiding officer at that time?
Well, I don't know what it will be after this policy, but generally, it is
The mayor.
the mayor who
mayor.
is selected first, and then the vice mayor is selected. So the sitting mayor, handles the proceedings, and then as soon as the next mayor is selected, that new mayor, then presides over the selection of the vice mayor.
Not what we did.
I understand for vice mayor, but for the mayor,
Here's what we do.
I thought it was Sarah that led that.
No, it's the mayor, it's the because they're still the presiding officer until a new mayor is elected.
But didn't we do mayor first?
Yes, so the mayor controls, the selection of their successor, essentially. It's never going to be themselves.
Right.
And so, I'm sorry, and so when you're seating a new council, that doesn't happen until after that transition, right? So. This time we're not going to see it. I'm not talking about this time, I'm just.
I don't understand.
I might not be thinking clearly anymore.
So I think in an election year, if there are new council members that are elected, the new council members are sworn in, come up to the dais, the outgoing council members go off, and then the next step is the selection of the mayor.
That's what I mean.
The mayor, whoever is voted in and selected as mayor is the presiding chair, officer, that presides over the meeting for the selection of the vice mayor.
Right, but so the current mayor may have just stepped off, right? Because they're maybe no longer on the council. So that's what I'm asking. Like,
Yeah,
if they're termed out.
If the mayor is one of the
Yes.
outgoing council members,
Then the vice mayor will be the mayor.
No. The vice mayor hasn't been selected yet.
No, but there already is a
Oh,
vice
the
mayor
existing
who will
vice-
be a mayor.
Okay, but there's still a vote. So so the vice mayor is
So
running.
the
that
mayor
meeting.
is the presiding officer until a new mayor is appointed by the council. So whatever occurs, the presiding officer will be the mayor, the current mayor. And then once that new mayor is selected, then the mayor will either move their seat to, a new location if they're staying on the council, or if they're going off the council, then that's when they leave the council.
Okay, so the outgoing mayor who's not been reelected would step off of the dais after that vote for the new mayor.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, ma'am?
Mm-hmm.
What? Oh, Greg's getting sleepy. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So does that answer the question?
Yeah, I think so. It's just seems a little odd if people, but the other council members would have already stepped off the dais because they're not part of that vote.
So presumably, given our eligibility criteria, the vice mayor would not serve if it's their last term.
No, I understand.
Yeah, so they will be able to serve as mayor. And according to our criteria now, it won't be an issue,
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well done, everyone.
Anything further on this item?
And we will obviously have to revise the policy, and we will bring it back, and it will be, part of it won't be a separate policy, it will be included as part of our protocols. That's what most cities do. And you want to do that, because you want to give notice. And that's a document that we give all of our incoming council members. It's the first time to read. We don't give them all of our administrative policies. So you want it in the protocols.
Okay.
Greg's hand is up.
Yes, Greg?
I just want to say that if we can make it through this, I have full faith and confidence that we can make it through anything.
I like that.
I really appreciate the collaboration
Well stated.
and the collegiality that we went through this process with, and I just wanted to say thank you to not just my fellow council, mayor, vice mayor, but staff as well.
Yes,
Thank you.
Yes,
appreciate
agreed.
everyone's patience going through this and goodwill.
Okay.
Okay, we have council communications.
Are we finished?
Wait, just want to make sure. Review recommendations and policy direction, decision options identified.
We finished.
Provide direction. Okay, we did that. We don't have a vote.
No.
Okay, council communications. The purpose of council communications is for council members to inform each other of items of potential interest to other council members, such as interagency meetings. Does anyone have something they would like to bring forward from interagency meetings or other?
Thank you for the description.
You're welcome.
That was helpful. In that case, right now, I don't have a lot to report, so I'm just going to defer.
I like that.
Same here, defer.
I'll say something, unless you want to go first, Greg, because it's late for you.
I'm happy to say that I really appreciated the opportunity to speak to so many people that I could almost use in an anonymous way that serve on other councils to discuss issues and just gain insights on how things work in other cities at that meeting that we all attended down in Southern California. I think it was enormously valuable, and I can't wait for next year.
Yeah, very valuable experience. I agree.
I do
Nope.
too.
Wrong.
Are you on? Oh, there. Okay.
Yeah, I love the Cal Cities conferences, and there's always so many good sessions to go to. It's really hard to pick, and
Yes.
it was lovely seeing you all at some of the ones that I went to too. I wanted to share a few things I learned there that, and then a meeting I went to late last night. Anyway, several of us went to one on economic development, which was a lot about grants, but there was someone there from Cosmont who's doing some of our work on our economic opportunity study and so forth. And one of the things I thought was really interesting, they said, is don't give away zonings and specific plans. Like, don't do that work ahead of time that that is your currency to negotiate with developers, is being able to upzone.
Yep.
Anyway, I thought that was super interesting. One of my favorite sessions was the one from that was led by Santa Cruz with so many ideas about engaging youth, but also prioritizing youth and families, and
Was great.
and ways that the council supports families in their community. They have some special funding that they approved as part of their cannabis tax, but also they were very brave and did a soda tax.
Yeah, sugar sweetened beverage.
Which all that money went for youth services. And anyway, that may be something we want to think about, even though it's hard and controversial. And then I stayed down there over the weekend because Oceanside was having a presentation, which I thought was about their Re-Beach program. And that's just a super cool project. They talked a little bit about that, but it was actually an even broader, more robust conversation than I had anticipated. It was led by a group called Resilient Cities Catalyst. It's a nonprofit working globally on climate resilience. And they picked Oceanside to work with and help them with their whole design competition idea. And the public engagement piece was such a big piece of that. And, you know, bringing together all the people that had actually even been against what they thought they wanted to do before, which was creating some groins to hold their sand. But anyway, so this organization, I'm going to follow up with them. I got so many cards from people, is now also working with Santa Cruz, Fort Bragg, Alameda, and Santa Barbara. And so all of their sustainability staff that's working on their sea level rise adaptation planning, we're all there, and I talked to all of them. Plus the award-winning engineer who designed Oceanside's project from Australia was there too. So what they're working on now is basically creating 2 points of land that act as groins, but they don't quite go out as far in the ocean, but they're also bigger and have like park amenities and like really community facilities. And then there's an offshore reef that helps keep the sand there too. So anyway, just a lot of synergy with the work that we're doing. And the other cities that were chosen are doing great work in their communities around engagement too. The one that really surprised me that I didn't know much about was Fort Bragg. And they're really looking at their coast and their adaptation work as an economic driver for their community, because it's, you know, between logging and some of the industry that's been lost, like what can they do to bring back? They have this wonderful, you know, location, and how to bring new economic development through their adaptation planning. So anyway, I was blown away by all those cities.
You were geeking out.
I was.
I know you were. I can totally tell. I know. Good for you. I'm glad you took the time to go to that and made those contacts, because
Yeah. Sorry, and then one more thing, and just Sue and I are leading, speaking of climate change adaptation, Sue and I are leading this discussion through the San Mateo County Leadership Council on October 29th. It's called Lead Local Engage, Shifting Shorelines, Adapting to Climate Change on the Coast. So we're talking about our story in Pacifica, where we've been, where you know, the work that we've done in the last couple of years, and where we're heading. And again, just brainstorming our own adaptation and engagement and how to do things better.
yeah,
So-
I think the advantage that we have with this group, Leadership Council, is that they have a broad reach to people in all kinds of different organizations in the county.
Yeah.
And so at first, when we were first talking about it, I was imagining it was all, you know, coastal cities or just city staff, and I was trying to figure out how to make it really pertinent for them. And it really turns out to be a lot about bringing the issues forward of what our issues were, what our process was, and helping them understand what we face. Because they may not have the first real understanding of Pacifica's challenges over time. So it'll be a good educational opportunity.
And there may be opportunities that come out of that. I mean, I walked, we're gonna be looking at Esplanade, Sharp Park, and Lindemar Beach. And I walked the leaders, Karen and Margie and Isabella from the Leadership Council through those sites to give them a little bit of the background, to make sure those sites were good sites for them. And, you know, also sharing like what our frustration is of not being able to get money from the state, and you know, the whole difficulty of managed retreat financially for a city. And you know, I don't know, they're such problem solvers in how that they think and the organization thinks, and they're like, well, how can we work on this together as a county, was the question. And you know, so anyway, it's good to be telling our story and seeing what help we can get.
Yeah. So
I am sorry that it's during the day on a weekday.
Yes.
That makes it a little harder for me. And I would have loved to have walked with you, so please invite me next time.
Okay, absolutely.
Yeah, I know. There is a meeting coming up similarly next week that I can't go to in Brisbane. I want to draw everyone's attention to it. I don't know if folks can go. It's not next week. It's coming up in November, early November, about aging. It was in our packet that's where I saw it, in our Connect with Pacifica.
Okay, yeah.
Near the bottom. And it's a blue and pink flyer. And Annabelle Pelham is speaking. She's one of the main speakers. Okay. But it's a cafe, you know, cafe.
Oh, yeah, I saw
Yeah. So that's coming up, but same. It's a work day for me, I can't go. But I did talk to some folks today who are very excited about it and excited about the work, so that's good. I also wanted to invite anyone who is available, please come out to the pier to this coming Saturday at 11. Andy Pappas's grandson, Mike Tarot, is dedicating a plaque in Andy's memory. And so he's been working with Gino on our staff, and the site was chosen, everything was approved. I do have a question for you after the meeting about the maintenance agreement. So if we can talk about that really quickly, that would be helpful. But it's 11 o'clock, it'll be an informal gathering, but if you knew Andy or you knew of Andy, it'll be a nice opportunity to remember him. Pacifica's Crab King. So that's my only important, because the timeline is short. Otherwise, I will defer my reports from Cal City's conference to a future date.
Yeah. Okay. Communications?
Kevin?
No staff communications.
What? None? Okay, and no staff. I see two besides staff that are here. All right, then, our meeting is adjourned at 10:23 p.m.
Bye, Greg.
Bye, Greg. Good night.
Good night.